Okay.
Thank you for your patience.
Does that look right?
Bargaining in the world of COVID.
All right. All right, good morning, everyone. This is collective bargaining with the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners and ATU Local 1395. It's June 5th, 2020. It's about 8:15 Central Standard Time, and we're in Pensacola, Florida. We have a sign-in sheet going around that's going to have all of the participants execute, and we're kind of ready to go. This is a, if I understand correctly, we're having a semi-abbreviated meeting this morning of this local because we're going to adjourn after a short period of time, and then we're going to move into bargaining with the other local, the local involving employees at ECAC. So, anything, Mike, that you want to, before we get started?
Curtis is telling me he can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, can we talk a little louder, Maddie?
You check that, you want?
All right, I can certainly try to do that.
Those
Is
are
it-
usually really good.
I know.
Yeah,
Can you hear him now?
Can you hear him, Curtis?
talk a little bit more. Hello.
Weird. That has to be on his side then, because there's no. Is his is it the volume turned up on the computer and in Teams for him?
He says he can hear you, but you can't hear him all right.
If he's talking, I'm not hearing
He's
him.
talking, but no one can hear him. They can't hear you though, Curtis. Is your volume up on your laptop where you're looking at, where you're in with, is it Microsoft Teams? Is that what you use?
No, I'm fine. I can hear you.
We got you now.
All right, good.
We got you, Curtis. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think to be safe though, because we are recording, do you mind if we start at the end of the table and just make everybody known for the
Perfect.
recording?
Go ahead.
Bedford Bradley.
Clerk's
Nikki
office.
Powell. Yeah. Nikki Powell, Clerk's office.
Lorraine Hudson, Clerk's office.
Mike Matabor?
Kristen Hewell, County
Jan-
Attorney's Office.
Janice Gilly, County Administrator.
Jana Still, Human Resources Department.
Arlene Wires, ATU 1395.
Jim Stanton, ATU 1395.
Mike Lowry, ATU.
Steve Livings, Fleet Maintenance, ATU.
Okay.
Okay. Janice, is there anything you want to say before we pass this out?
I think that, you know, we've talked previously about the wages for our operational unit. We talked about it with the Board of County Commissioners as a pilot program with them back in November. And one of the things that these directors, Solid Waste, Pat Johnson, Tim Day with mosquito control, Jamie and Wes, both with Public Works, and then Mike Rhodes and Mike Rhodes with Parks and Rec and Cassie Boatwright. We've worked pretty hard to try and come up with a way to ensure that we can retain and recruit employees for these operational units. We know that it's a difficult, time, particularly in equipment operators, to get folks to come and to stay. But what we did was we looked at all the different positions in the unit to see if there was something we could do for each of those positions. And so through a lot of hard work on behalf of these directors, they would like to provide this pay for their particular employees. And the commissioners also support this proposal that we are providing today. We have an obligation to make sure that the employees, know how much they're valued But we also have an obligation to make sure that we do provide the fiscal management and restraints that we have to for the citizens of the county. And so this is our pleasure to provide this today to this unit, and we appreciate your consideration.
Could Jenna maybe email that to Curtis? So he can see it, I appreciate it.
So this is a proposed wage adjustment. How it would work basically is that anyone who is earning less than the proposed base rate of pay would move up to the proposed base rate of pay. So that's how that would be adjusted.
But there's nothing for, like, if you're above that, there's no adjustment?
This is just for the base, correct?
The base rate of pay, yeah.
Curtis, they're emailing this to you. Jenna is in just a second. Okay?
Sir, I have my next waiting on, yeah. While we're doing that, Mr. Malamore, I sent you a letter addressing that, as I said in the first negotiations, that all correspondence comes to me as the lead negotiator. And that you did not take that by sending a letter up to the International Union, which they replied as well. So all your correspondence and all of your communication goes directly to me.
Well,
So this,
Curtis,
and you
if you look at my letter, I intentionally wrote that letter not as the chief negotiator for Escambia County, but I wrote the letter in my capacity as labor counsel for Escambia County. So a lawyer writing, I can't write to another person's client. I have to write to their lawyer if their lawyer has been identified. And you've identified 2 lawyers to represent your interests. So by operation of the Florida Bar, I had to communicate with your attorney in my capacity as an attorney, not as my capacity as chief negotiator. If I'm going to communicate to you as the chief negotiator for Escambia County, let me take that back. If I'm going to communicate to the ATU in my capacity as chief negotiator, I will write that to you.
all right, well, if you send anything to the attorneys, I've been advised to make sure that you copy me on all communications.
Well, you know, that, if your attorney tells me that, then I will do that.
I'll have them tell you that if you want to place in my case.
All right, that's fine, but that's how the rules work, so.
I'm just waiting to receive it, that's all.
Yeah, we're waiting for you to get it too, Curtis, and have a chance to look at it before we say anything. And
So as you can see, some of these are fairly substantial in terms of the increases.
Curtis, have you gotten the email yet?
Yeah, it just came in and I'm pulling it up now.
Okay, good, thank you.
how much money was budgeted for that? Wasn't it like 280,000 or something was the approval of that? I can't remember the exact dollar amount.
So that clearly.
Okay.
So
I have
it wasn't so much that there was that much budgeted for it. As I've said, that we've worked really closely with these directors. We've worked with HR, we've worked with the clerk's office, I've worked with the commissioners. And what we've done is we've provided a proposal to you that, that our directors will manage. So the dollar amount is not what we're concerned about as much as we are concerned about trying to retain and recruit employees with these proposed base pay rates.
Can I ask you, Ms. Administrator?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it possible, not right now, but is it possible for me to get numbers that, how many people are in each classification? And it doesn't have to be right now.
I think I can get that to you by lunchtime. And what I can provide to you are the number of currently employed individuals in those, in these classifications. I can also provide to you the number of employees that are, where we have vacancies in these positions. So we'll be more than happy to
Thank you.
provide that to you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Administrator.
Mhm. One of the things that I have tried to do, and our directors have been very resourceful in the way they've tried to manage this, is to make sure that the impact to the taxpayers is such that that they will see an enhanced amount of services without an enhanced tax rate to them. And so I would just really truly appreciate your consideration in this particular proposal, because I think that it's a win for the employees and I think it's a win for our citizens as well. And I have been very appreciative of the way that everyone has worked together on our side of the table to present this to you. You know, as we know, there are 40 million Americans that currently don't have a job. Our employees still have a job, and we're trying to do what we can to recruit more employees to come, more citizens and employees to come join us. So.
Well, Ms. Administrator, we really appreciate it, and it's a lot of progress since the last time we met. I would just ask you to explain to me, you said as a pilot program. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? If we accept it, what it would mean and how it would look from your perspective?
Well, so the good news is it's no longer a pilot. We proposed it as a pilot. We are now proposing this as a base wage rate increase through your contract.
Thank you for that explanation.
Yes, sir.
So I guess the best thing for us to do is ask to take a quick caucus and allow me to talk with Mr. Lowry and Mr. Livings about this proposal. Since that's the whole nature of this morning's meeting, if that's acceptable to you guys.
Okay.
That's acceptable to us. How long do you think you would need a caucus? Because we need to manage today pretty carefully.
I don't know the time, Mike. However, if it goes past 30 minutes, then we would be more than glad to inform you that we need additional time.
Okay, that would be great. That would be appreciated, because, you know, we have to move into a different set of negotiations at some point today, so. And we have notices.
I don't see us needing 30 minutes, Mike, but, you know, I just want to be conservative.
All right, good.
Good time.
I guess we'll leave.
Yeah. Thank
And-
you.
Yeah, hold on, Curtis, one second.
Everybody was in each classification on the pay scale. However, they didn't get the 3% until January. What you sent over, Mike, is that reflective of the 3% in November? Because I don't want to ask the information that you've already given me.
Okay, I think you're asking, for this unit, did they get 3% in November?
They should have.
This unit,
Well,
yeah.
we know that they did, Mike, and
Yeah.
you sent me over a spreadsheet that talked about where everybody was in the wage classification at their current wages.
That was
But
post.
my question is, did it have the 3% on it, or did it not have the 3% on it?
It had the 3% on it.
Okay. so I won't ask for it again. So now I just need to understand that this proposal only talks about base rate employees, but not about current employees, correct?
No, the current employees have the base rate in the third column, and the current employees would go to the base rate in the
Correct.
fourth column.
If they are below that.
And
correct.
so, like, you asked for numbers, and we'll get you numbers, but, so we have a significant number of unit members that are current that will see a wage increase.
Correct.
Okay, so I don't see that on what was sent over. We only see the current base rate and the proposed base rate. I don't see where anybody in the bargaining unit currently would be impacted.
Yeah,
I
So is
understand.
that,
Yeah, I see what he's
We understand the confusion, so I'm sorry about that. What we are trying to show you is that if you are currently an employee and you are making $10.50 as a custodian worker, you would go, a current employee, would go to $11.25. So you would have an increase if you are a current employee.
right, but if I'm a current employee, and see, that's the other thing, I don't have it up in front of me, but if I'm a current employee and I'm at, let's just say I'm at 11.25, then there would be no increase for me at all.
No, sir, what you would have received is the 3% that the other, if you were employed, whenever the 3% was imposed, you would have that 3%. You would have received that.
Okay. So for us, Mike, I think we need to have more time to kind of break it out and look at the other chart where the current employees are currently. And if you can send over any information that would help us look for that quickly, we would appreciate it. But we don't want to waste your time in the first part of this session without having an opportunity to look over it and play with the numbers and see where everything is. So,
we'll do that.
If you can send over information, would be helpful. We would rather take probably set another date real soon, maybe next week, or depending on how the county schedule looks, and come back with our questions or current or accept or give a counter.
Okay, the only thing I would mention is the chart that we were gonna provide you is strictly the position and the number of current employees and the number of vacant. It was gonna be, an aggregate number. So, we would have to get more detailed information from the clerk's office to do it by employee, by classification or position.
Of
So that-
existing employees,
Pardon me?
of existing employees?
Yes.
Yes, so that's what I hear you're asking for, right, Curtis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
See, I mean, I know Steve wants to say something too, Curtis, but I just want to throw out, just looking at custodial worker, I mean, I don't have the email in front of me that you sent Curtis, but I think you said there were 3 in that position right now, is that correct? Or is there 5?
No, it's 5
Is there
in
5?
that
There's
position
5.
now, and 2 vacancies.
Yeah, and the lowest existing employee rate of pay, and this is prior to the 3%, I believe, at custodial, the lowest rate at that time was $12.54 an hour of the existing employees. And the proposed base rate is $11.25. So that was the 3% from last October. I mean, that's just one, that was the most simplest classification that I could look at with the least amount of people in it. But go ahead, Steve. Steve wanted to say something, Curtis.
All right, currently, fleet maintenance tech and equipment operator 3 are currently the same pay. All right, under the proposed rate, they would go to 19, and fleet goes to 17, which is the same as equipment operator 2. So that's not,
Seems to go
it
backwards.
seems to be going backwards, and it's a totally different skill set, I mean, than what fleet has compared to especially an operator two, you know, we're,
Which currently is equivalent to a 3,
right.
currently. And
Right,
prospectively,
you
it should be, fleet maintenance should be actually even a higher than a 3.
Yes.
In some
You know,
respects.
I mean,
in
we
some
show
respects.
up with, you know, $20,000 worth of tools, you know, and here, you know, equipment operators show up with a lunchbox. You know, I mean, is that what y'all, is that a mistake, or is that actually? the
There are
proposal?
multiple factors that go into it. I mean, how hard it is to recruit for the position, because of
Right.
what Ms. Gilly said earlier. We recognize that recruitment and retention can be an issue, and we're trying to correct it by moving the base rates. That way that new people coming in, it'll be more attraction for people coming in.
Right.
And then it'll give people their current base to build on.
And I just don't see how he.
Okay.
a fleet
I see what
mate,
you're
you know,
saying.
So
compared to
we
a-
can count
to-
that.
I'm just.
We can count that, we can count that. I think I see, yeah, we can count that. But I just wanted to,
So-
Curtis, go ahead.
So, well, that's part of why we don't want to waste time. We need to look at the overall proposal and how it fits in everything, and then be able to get back with you guys about, you know, where we're at with it. That's one of the things that we identified, just looking at it real quick by that. But we understand that, after you sent over the numbers of the vacant positions, that, where you're having problems retaining and where you have 100%. So we understand that, and we appreciate you sending that over. But Mike, can we look at some dates now, if it's okay with you, or do
Yeah.
you want to tell us over dates? I mean, whatever's good for you guys.
We are, I have you heard back yet?
I haven't heard back, but she's
Yeah. 19th would be better.
Curtis, would you have time on the 19th?
Yes, I would. That's Friday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I can make time on Friday for you guys.
Mike, would
Oh,
you be
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, I got time.
I mean, I don't know what else to do, and I don't make assumptions,
Sorry, that
sorry.
came across as sarcastic.
No, it really wasn't. I don't think it would be fair not to check with you,
No, that's
because you
fine.
are part of the negotiation
Sure,
team.
sure, and then Steve's off on Friday, so we're good there, we're
Okay.
good. But this offer on the base is good movement, very good, very impressive.
So on the 19th, how early would you want to?
As well, since he's on Eastern, could we do 8:30?
Curtis, would 8:30 work?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that 8:30 CST or EST?
CST.
All right, it's 8:30 CST.
9:30 your
Right,
time.
I'm with you, Mike. I understand that all of the time we discussing is your time.
Okay, good.
Well, he's on your time.
Well, it's not actually my time. My time was,
But I mean, it's JB County's time.
Yeah.
My fault. Okay, I've got it in 8:30, and we'll do the teams if y'all can set this back up.
And we'll put it in a
In
different
July.
room, Curtis. So if we use a different room that is better conducive to this, we'll make sure that next time we can have the video and we won't have any kind of issues with the sound. We thought we had it worked out this time, but, you know, little snafus.
Oh, he sees you right now.
Oh, hey!
all right, that sounds good.
He just smiled when you waved.
All right, thanks, everybody. I think
Okay,
that's,
so we take a little break and
Yes,
start
yeah.
at 9:30?
And I'm doing the invitation right now for the,
Oh, and she's doing the invitation right now, Curtis. Okay? I'm gonna call you back on the phone, Curtis, okay?
All right, so,
Hey, thank you. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you,
Curtis.
Curtis. We appreciate
We'll be
you.
back with you in a little bit.
All right, let's go.
You.
I think we should go to that.
Don't text him.
You guys have a great weekend.
You as well. Thank you for coming. You sure you don't wanna stay? Or-
I got other things.
Eddie pauses. Stop this.
He's like,
Jan, maybe
Oh,
stop.
sorry, hit the pause button. It's right there.
It's on there.
I don't know, man, I'm gonna give you a run for your money. Well, you can move the chairs up. They just got them against the wall, you can move them. Can't talk though, bro. Curtis will have a fit if you start talking. There you go. Curtis, you there?
I'm here.
Mike? Oh, where'd Jim go?
And it's like every time we corral everyone, we have one down.
Are y'all ready?
I think Jim went to the restroom. Hold on, now we're waiting on Jim Stanton.
Always a maintenance guy.
There's no feedback going there, Curtis.
I'll mute mine.
Yeah, I think it's because of the phone and on his side.
On his side, right?
Yeah.
He just turned it down.
I wanna do my camera.
All right.
All right, welcome everyone. This is negotiations between the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners and the ATU Local 1395. We appreciate everybody who's here and welcome them. To begin, it's 9:30-ish.
9:44.
9:44 to be exact, Central Standard Time in Pensacola, Florida. I'm Mike Mattamore, and I'm going to ask the people who are attending in the room to introduce themselves.
Bedford Bradley, clerk of the court.
Nikki Powell, clerk of court.
Lorraine Hudson, clerk of court.
Mike Mattamore.
Kristen Huel.
Janice Gilly, County.
Janice Hill, County HR.
Tanya Ellis, Mass Transit.
Stephanie Green, ECAD. Arlene Myers, AT.
Mike Lowry, ATU.
Joe Stanton, ATU.
And then joining us remotely
Curtis.
is Curtis Howard.
Yep, with a little feedback here. Sure where it's coming from.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you go. It's your phone on the video on your end of
Yeah. All right.
there you go. You got it.
All right, thanks, everybody. I'd like to start by making the position of the county very clear with regard to wages. On October 8th, 2019, we proposed a 3% across-the-board increase for the members of the bargaining unit. We were willing to implement that 3% at that time, and we sought the parties to enter into a memorandum of understanding on that. We were not insisting that we have a signed contract or that we wait till the resolution of negotiations on a contract, but we were willing to implement that increase at that time. And it's been our position consistently since then that we're willing to do that. If we were, for example, to be able to enter into a memorandum of understanding today, and I have a copy of it for your review, that we would take this memorandum of understanding to the next board meeting, present it for their vote and ratification, and then we would immediately put the 3% across the board increase into place. Again, we're not waiting for the conclusion of collective bargaining negotiations or any other strength that's attached to all of this. We just, as the county is willing to go ahead and implement a 3% increase. We want to make that very clear. We have this memorandum for your consideration. Let me give this to you, Mike.
And I would appreciate it if you email it to me, Mike. However, I do have a question about the MOU right off the rip.
Sure.
We had some discussions about it not being across the board on our wage scale, our current wage scale at each tier. Are you suggesting that you made some changes to consider that, or you kept your position the same?
Well, this is a 3% across-the-board increase for all members of the bargaining unit. So
Okay.
I'm not, I hope that answers your question, Curtis.
Yeah, so no problem. And we have a proposal, because it was our first agenda item too, to talk about a wage reopener of this MOU, and we have a draft copy as well that we would like to, not a draft copy, we have a proposal that we'd like to submit to you, Mike, if you can make sure that they get our proposal of the memorandum of understanding on wage increases for 2019 and 2020, as well as 2020 and 2021.
I think I got enough. Make sure I got it.
I'll say we're awful close.
So I think, Mike, it would be good if we both looked over both proposals at our first caucus break.
I have enough.
If you don't, I can share.
I think I have enough to get to everything.
Look at mine. Thank you. All right, Mr. Curtis, I just sent you the wage proposal, or the MOU,
3%
sorry, the
MOU.
3% MOU.
Thank you, Nana.
You're welcome.
Mike, we also have at this time, do you want to look at the wage, or do you want to, I have three other items that I'd like to discuss before we take a break.
Let's do it.
All right, hazard pay, which is something that is very critical to us in the transit industry right now, with our frontline members out there every day risking their lives. This is something that's very important to all of us, and I say all of us because International is talking about every member that we represent, risking their life every day out here on the front line. So we'd like to address our hazard pay request as well.
You want me to pass it out, Curtis?
If you don't mind, yes, please, Mike.
I printed this out, so I have a copy.
There you go. It's passed out, Curtis.
Okay, so Mike, that's our position on request and hazard pay, which also is a reflection of the CARES Act funds that were received, $10+ million that was received by the transit for Escambia County. So this money that was received is available to be used towards hazard pay. We already know that. Our attorneys already vetted it through FTA, and we're the ones that advocated for this $25 billion to be sent to all the transit agencies. So the frontline employees should be compensated out of that money. So That's our position on hazard pay. Have y'all received that 10 million yet?
That's what we want to make sure that we provide a clarification as to the status of the 10 million.
It went to the board yesterday to request a public hearing. It will be on the next board meeting, June 18th, I believe, for the public hearing and for the approval. And then the application will be submitted to FTA at that point.
So we have not received in hand the 10 million. There are still some steps that we have to go through.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, and it's not trying to take any cheap shots or anything, but why most agencies have already done it and received it? Why are you guys so far behind?
It's not that we were behind, we wanted to make sure that as far as what, in the middle of the budget process, that we were actually making sure that it was included in the budget for 2021 or in 1920. So that's already been clarified with the budget office and with the administrator's office.
Right, but this, the CARES Act money is supposed to be an emergency pandemic situation, not part of a budget. So I'm a little lost on that one, Tanya, but the pandemic situation was to be able to help the immediate needs of the authority.
That is true, but it still would have to be reflected in the budget, depending upon which fiscal year it's received.
Okay.
And part of it was
Thank you
giving
for
the
that.
public, sorry, part of
Okay.
it was giving the
Yes.
public the opportunity to speak to it too. So anything that has it could have a significant impact on the county. I mean, even though it's not taxpayer dollars directly coming out of it, we still give the public the opportunity to speak. So there's a public hearing.
Yeah, and I understand the county's processes. I've worked with you guys for a little while, so I understand it. But I just would have thought that would have been some urgency on having a special meeting or a special call meeting to receive that money to help with operations. That's all.
Okay.
But I understand. I'm not questioning the decisions that have been made. I just most agencies have done it, received it. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
So we have wages, hazard pay. You said you had a couple other things before we go to caucus.
Yeah, the buyout. We had some extensive conversations on our last discussion, our last meeting. And what are we with the buyout? We would like to make sure that that's put up in the front as well. This is the buyout has been going back and forth for a long, long time, and we have members that would possibly consider in order to help out.
Okay, well, yeah, we're interested in having a quick resolution of the buyout. And
I think we can use some of the CARES Act money now.
we, I think we have an MOU that's pending to find the buyout and put it into effect. I think we got a verbal counter the last time you were with us, Curtis, in person. I think it was something like, didn't it quadruple the amount of money involved and committed? And we said, well, we didn't have that kind of funds to put toward this, and then I think there was a couple requests by you as to the administration of the funds that we've committed to the buyout. That wouldn't make sense to us because it invited some lack of finality and definition to the process. But you know, we have a MOU pending that we could do that buyout very quickly and take care of it.
Could you provide that MOU again to us today?
I will. I'll do it before I'll do it before
Right.
we go to caucus.
Okay.
All right. What else, Curtis?
And I would like to, we agreed on some articles that would be TA'd, and we haven't done that. I need to have clarity on, make sure we're on the same page and sign off on those TAs.
All right.
That's
Well,
I-
they were
that's
already
priority.
signed at
Oh.
some point.
we have a series, we have a number of articles that were TA'd. They have been TA'd. They have been signed off on. We can give you a packet of those articles today. So you see what we have as TA'd agreed to articles.
So you're referring to the
Okay.
TAs that were done prior to the ratification vote of the commissioners, correct?
I'm talking about
Is that
what
what we're
we've
talking about?
TA'd since, no, we had a session about, I don't know, 3 or 4 sessions ago. We went into, I invited that everybody look at what was on the table and what could be agreed to and taken off the table. And we identified mutually about 9, 10 articles. And then we TA'd them. There's 13 articles. And I'll give you the packet
Oh.
today.
Okay.
All right, so and if you could scan them into me and send them over. But, so you, like Article 11, 12, 22, like those are the articles
Yeah,
that we're
23,
referring to?
26, 27, 29, 30, 40, 43, 50, and 52.
Okay. We just didn't get a copy of that.
Okay.
Well, we'll give you a
But
copy
I
today.
think we only discussed it at the meeting.
Okay.
And just to give you a quick, it was 18 previous tentative agreements, but 2 of the articles were deemed obsolete and 4 were kind of rolled into the other. So that's why it's kind of 18 of what was originally there, but it's,
Yeah, you suggested that you roll it into one article, right?
Right, so then we have, we'll
I didn't-
we'll give you the whole packet.
I don't have my notes that we signed off on them since we restarted bargaining, that's all.
Okay?
And we can do that if
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what you would like.
Yeah, we can, if you want to,
So let me make, if I could just ask, they don't actually have my signature on them though, do they? That's what I thought, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I knew I didn't sign
Yeah,
it.
so, yeah, we need to, moving forward, we need to make sure that everything is in writing.
okay,
So we're
well,
looking to
if
sign off
you
on
look through this packet and we're ready to initial off on every single one of these articles that we've verbally agreed to TA. Now, we also have a packet that we're gonna give you this morning, which are proposals.
Mike,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Curtis.
Before you go further, will it be able to be sent to me via email
Yep,
by our caucus?
Jenna says
yes.
yes.
Thank you.
So we have.
Sorry to cut.
No, that's okay. We have new language for several articles, and a bunch of them are just reorganized in, some of them will show a complete strike-through, but they're really moved to a different article and reorganized. So we kind of show that, like, for example, Article 9 and Article 16 look struck, but they are moved into Article 8, which is leaves. So anyway, I'm going to give you this entire packet. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 articles. But like I said, 5 or 6 of these are just either deleted or moved. So you probably need some time. Gotcha.
Curtis, should we go ahead and give them
That's what
the
was
10 and
Well,
20?
Mike,
Should we give them 10 and 20?
yes.
Okay.
We also have something to give to you, Mike. Article 10 and Article 20, if Mike can give that to you, it would be helpful to us.
This is a TA packet.
Yes, these are the ones that we previously proposed, and we had requested clean copies of.
And Jenna, whatever you're giving us
So
right now.
that'll be
could you
the full document.
Email to Curtis,
Yeah, please.
yes, sir.
You already got it?
He's handing out, well, we'll say it because we'll make sure you know.
All right, so what, these are, Arlene, these are,
Yes.
what numbers are these?
Article 10 and
And
Article
20.
20.
Okay, good.
Article 10 and Article 20.
All right, well,
Okay.
I don't want to, I'll let you
Gianna,
finish that before.
Okay.
So these are the TAs.
Confused?
Does Curtis want it? The other two don't, so.
all of the, I mean,
Well, is this
Okay.
one
I
packet?
just sent you the TA. I have to see, it takes me minutes, I have to convert them to
Do you
PDFs.
have, do you have any more?
I gave four. Gave four.
You gave four.
And then you had 20, right?
Oh, I see,
The
you
one that
passed
was handed
mine.
out.
Jimmy, you missed that. Okay.
So I would take one time with what I just gave you in terms of that packet, because, you know, when I read through them, you have to be mindful that something that's struck may appear in a different part of the contract.
Can you tell us which articles those are, so we don't have
I
to
think
guess?
There's a table
There's a
on the
table
front
that kind
page.
of is a key,
legend, yeah.
that shows all that. All right, now that paper's passed out, I got a couple other things to give to you. So Curtis, I'm giving Mike a couple other things that we talked about. This is the
Okay.
memorandum of agreement on the buyout.
And I'm sorry, I only have one copy, but I can get
Okay.
more if you need more.
Here, here, here.
I can make a, I could,
This is
Jim's got
a
it.
housekeeping matter.
Curtis, did you get the, email I just sent about the tentative articles?
No, those are, the
Thank you.
yeah, so those are tentatively agreed to. Correct. Okay. I'm about
I
to
have
send-
them and I'm, thank you.
Okay. All right, one last exchange is we were asked to give clean copies of several articles that were counter proposals, not in legislative format, but clean. Well, these aren't. These are in legislative format. Or to just,
I took out all the strike through.
okay, good.
So what's underlined is what we proposed to change, but there, it was so jumbled up and everything, so I just
So they're
took out all
cleaned
the
up.
strike through. But it's the same proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
that's,
was,
but that's, you asked us for that format.
so it'd be
and there
easier
it
to
is.
read, because it was getting all,
It was complicated, yeah.
oh, these are the proposals you gave last time?
Correct.
Yes.
but
I
they're
don't know
less
if it's
convoluted.
Without the strike through, okay.
Mhm. Okay, so this is the counters that I'm sending to you now.
Curtis, you're getting a lot of emails, I'm sure.
Yeah, sorry, Curtis.
It appears to be.
No, that's fine. I'm printing them out as they go, so thank you.
Killing a lot of trees then.
And then this is gonna be the pending clean.
It's okay, the county feels a lot of
Oh.
time.
Okay. So can we take a little time before we break to go over at least a couple of these? For
Let's
instance,
get this done.
I want to make sure I'm understanding your wage proposal. Is that the exact same MOU as was submitted back in October?
No. It was revised to reflect that it would be effective upon execution, I believe is how it's drafted.
Now it's under execution now.
Well, because it's no longer, I believe when it was originally proposed, it would have gone into effect with the fiscal year, but it's now June of 2020.
So you're saying there's no retro pay, is what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything, I'm telling you what it says in the document.
Thank you for that clarification.
Did we hand this one out?
Yes. Oh, no.
I don't think we
If you
handed
have
this
it,
one out.
All right,
then those, yeah.
that's the TA
Did y'all
ones.
get the TA ones that have they're in light
The
blue on top?
Yes, I think.
That red on top?
No,
that's different.
I thought
Yep.
so. Y'all need that one too.
Yeah, we haven't seen the TAs. so-
Yes,
Lighter color coded, they're non.
I'm trying to be colorful.
All right, since I'm gonna give you four of the TA articles, since we might be
Okay, here
signing
comes Article
these.
35, which is separate, but it's
So
also.
we'll keep at least two clean, okay? If someone's gonna.
Yeah, I know.
I will.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just received two of them. I was just gonna ask you and it popped up.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm on the Wi-Fi here, and sometimes it takes a lag.
Always on time.
Okay, and they're sending the TAs as well, Curtis. All right,
And lastly, I'll send you the retirement. Did I send you the other one? No.
so Curtis, how do you want to proceed forward? Do you want to discuss things, or do you want to?
Well, I don't want to
Or do you wanna go
accept
caucus?
till we caucus.
Caucus first, okay.
Yeah, maybe, with all this stuff, Mike, unlike this morning, let's take an hour caucus, and if we need any other time, then let's request it, but I would need at least an hour to go over this.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mattermore, did you hear me?
I did, sure. We're good with an hour.
Okay, thank you.
So. Is it?
Yeah, Mike, so if we could just go in that breakout room that y'all was in earlier, then maybe we can, just go through some of this stuff.
Yeah, can you just, this time, just log all the way out and then dial back in so it doesn't time out? Want to do it that way? Curtis? He's not, he's reading. Curtis,
Okay, and this is the last.
Yes.
we're gonna go into the caucus room now. Will you, just
Wait, I sent you the
cancel
other one. This
completely
one's
out of the
H.
call, the call, so you
There we
won't
go.
come up with the sound, okay?
Okay,
Okay.
no problem, thank you.
I'll call you when I get in the caucus room.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Is that good?
Thank you.
Okay.
During the caucus, we took a look at the materials that you gave to me. It's like, hello. Like a minute, Kay. Yodeling. So we took a look at the memorandum of understanding that you gave to us. It's, I guess, Article 35, Section 1 of the collective bargaining agreement.
Hold on, we gotta get rid of this echo, it's killing us.
What happened to that guy who was here, David, that was always taping us? He became expendable. All right. I wonder if we could just turn that down.
All right, y'all start talking.
Hello. Sounds like a success. So during the caucus, we took a look at what you gave us, Mike and Curtis.
Okay.
The memorandum of understanding, I guess, is proposing wage increases that span 2019, 20, and 2021. And we put on the table a wage increase for 1920 only. We want to be clear that when we proposed the memorandum of understanding for the 3% across the board, we were not waiving your right to bargain for a 2021 wage increase. That was something we were going to take as we move forward with our negotiations. Our intent with the memorandum of understanding is just to get the 3% out as quickly as possible. And then as we go forward in our negotiations, we would take up 2021. So that's the response to that.
So let me-
Go ahead, sure.
On your MOU, I have a question.
Good.
My question is your MOU implying that all current employees, and then if I'm hired in, I will remain at the base pay, in training for 90 days, and then when I come out of my 90 days, that I would go up to the wage progression as everybody else is in that stage?
So Curtis, it's the 3% across the board is for the current employees, so any new employee coming in, would start at what the base rate is. Cause that's something that we'll still bargain for and negotiate is that part of the wage. This is for the current employees to go ahead and get them that 3%, and we'll continue negotiating all the other parts of the contract, including the wages.
So the problem I have is the MOU taking away our wage progression? Because it seems like you're trying to take away the wage progression that we have.
You're trying to turn up your volume, Curtis. Okay.
So what the board provides each year is a 3% across the board wage increase to the existing employees. It is not a COLA, which would be considered an increase to be.
To the
yeah,
base.
To the base.
This is a
So,
raise
I guess
for current employees.
So my question is about my wage progression. Transit has a wage progression. If you in this year, then you make the same. Everybody makes the same pay. Are you guys trying to do away with the wage progression?
So the county, as far as I understand, has not provided a wage progression. They have provided. Are you talking about the 90 days issue?
So it's our currently, we are practicing our previous labor agreement, which all of the transit workers across the country have a wage
Right, that's what
progression.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
And we don't, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are Jim Stanton, and Jim Stanton gets a 3%, Jim Stanton gets 3% on his current salary. But Jim Stanton's salary does not move in terms of someone else that came in at the position that he was at.
That's not I'm not sure if I'm relaying my question well. My question is straightforward. Are we recognizing the wage progression or are we not? We're doing away with the wage progression.
Is this what you consider the wage progression?
The wage progression is in the contract.
So, Curtis, may I jump in?
Of course.
So, it's clear in the contract that bus operators, cleaners, and fuelers have a progression.
Yes.
We're simply asking,
Okay, so that doesn't change. So day one, somebody comes in as a bus operator. They'll start at $12.78. Day 91 through 24 months, they get the 75%. That's still happening. We're just not applying the 3% to that. We're applying the 3%, whatever person currently making, add 3% to it. But it's only for the employees here. We're not changing
that changes the progression. That changes the progression. It adds a
For
step
new people?
for new individuals coming in, correct?
What rate of pay will that new employee get once they get out of 90 days.
$14.75.
So they
It
won't
stays
get-
the exact same thing.
So.
They don't get the 3%.
That's what we're asking.
Yeah.
So
So
if they
3% is
get-
for the year, for current employees for the year of 2019, for the 20 fiscal year 1920. So that's only for the current employees. We're still going to talk about, negotiate all the other elements of the contract that exist.
So when you raise these rates, that rate from 14.75, if you get the 3%, then goes up to, what's ours at? You got it. What's ours at?
I got it, Mike. We got it. We got it. I understand.
Does that make sense, Curtis? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You answered my question.
They're at another level.
Curtis, I just want to make sure I
So-
understand. Can I just ask this, I just want to make sure I understand. So what she's saying is, existing employees get a 3% raise on their existing wage.
Correct.
But if, after the ratification of the contract or future, let's say, do we do this, not the contract, after we execute this wage increase, and then they hold a class, and a new class comes in, they come
Are
in
they making this?
at 1278, and then they, after their 91st day, they go to 1475.
Correct.
Even though someone else that's in the 91 to 24 months could be making 15, 19 an hour.
Because
So
it's
you're
for
adding
the
another
current
level.
employees.
You're
to the
adding a
progression.
step. You're adding a step, is what you're doing, right?
No, Mike, only thing they're trying to do is in 5 years, everybody, just like the county, wage progression with their rate. That's all. But, so we can talk about it, but
I guess, Curtis, I'm just sitting here thinking, how does that individual ever get to top pay?
Mike, we can talk about it. It's
Okay.
just like the county workers are now. It's not something that we promote in HEB, but we'll talk about it.
Okay, we have to cost all this out, that what you gave us, but we also have, we looked at hazard pay. We have a number of responses that we're gonna come back to you on that. We're gonna look into the practice of hazard pay that you referenced. We're gonna look into the CARES Act and what kind of expenditures are eligible under the CARES Act. So we're gonna look at a number of different factors on hazard pay, so that's gonna certainly take some time. We looked at the other two articles that you gave us. We currently do not provide to any county employee short-term disability or long-term disability, although it's available if a person wants to purchase a group plan. The felonious assault bond, we don't think the current is $400,000, but we're gonna research that. And, you know, on 10, we're still at the issue on hiring, posting and hiring. We're still apart because we believe that a county employee with a CDL license should be able to, once the unit people have all passed on a vacancy, they should have the same standing as somebody in paratransit to apply and let the most qualified person get the job, rather than have a pecking order that would have unit people, then paratransit, and then county employees. I know that you've told us what
Hello?
your thoughts are on all that.
I can't
You've heard
hear
it
you.
before.
Curtis, you can't hear now?
I can't hear you really good.
What?
It was genius, whatever it was, Curtis, don't worry about it, it was just genius.
Can you hear him now?
It's back. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Mike, let me ask you, you said that somebody with a CDL should have the same standard. So if I drive around and I haul dirt for 15 years, I don't have to talk to the dirt. Now all of a sudden, I become the most qualified when I got to talk to passengers and have customer service skills?
Not necessarily. He's just saying that it's not gonna automatically, like, if a county employee, say they drove a bus somewhere else for 20 years and then came and worked for the county in a different capacity, they'd have 20 years of driving a bus that should be considered. So if a current county or a current ECAT worker had 5 years of driving a bus, this person with 20 years, that's more experience. That doesn't mean they're automatically gonna get it. We're saying in all onus and all fairness and being able to consider all factors, that we would prefer not putting a preference in there of a pecking order, essentially.
Yeah, so Janet, what you just said to me is if I drove school bus 20 years ago, and now I want to come over and I want to drive for ECAT, but in between I drove dirt around those 20 years. In between, and then I got an employee who's been in the last 10 years has only worked over in the paratransit division, even though it's a different contract, hauling passengers and having customer service and working with our needy and elderly in the community. The person that used to drive school bus for 20 years ago, but who's been driving dirt around, could have more qualifications to the person that's over there working in paratransit. I don't think that's fair.
Hey Curtis, I'll give you an example. So say I'm a person, I drove a bus in Palm Beach County for 20 years. I drove with Mass Transit for 20 years. And I moved to Pensacola, and there wasn't an open position at ECAT for me to drive a bus. So I decided I still wanted to work for the county. I possessed the CDL, and I decided to work for county in a capacity. Well, then I see ECAT position opens up. I've been working county for a year, but I still have 20 years driving a bus in Palm Beach County. I think that experience should be able to be considered. And so you have this other paratransit worker who's only been driving a bus for 2 years. How it's written now, you would say that person who's only been driving a bus for 2 years has more experience or more seniority over this person who did it for 20 years and literally just took like a year break from driving a bus.
No, I wouldn't say they have more experience, but what I would say that they're already in the transit system here in the Batavia County.
I understand what you're saying.
And they should have right to the job first.
And they could have preference, but I don't, that normally is a factor. There's multiple factors to consider, but it's.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Tanner.
No, you're fine.
So in contrast, what we're saying is, if a paratransit driver's got 5 years' experience transporting passengers, and a county worker, and I'm not opposed to county workers ever coming over, don't get that wrong, but a county worker's got 20 years in the road department, who's more qualified and who would be considered first? Wouldn't, under your explanation, a paratransit driver would then,
Not
because they actually
necessarily.
have experience.
Yeah, correct, yes.
Transporting
That's what I'm
passengers.
saying. Instead of writing into the contract that you're automatically, just because you're in paratransit, gonna be, that gives you the seniority over somebody else. There are multiple factors that should be considered when hiring and promoting somebody, and it's just allowing that consideration to come into play. And like the scenario I just gave.
So Jenna, so what gives somebody in mobility, upward mobility to say, hey, I come work for the county, it's not my fault, one is a private contractor and one is moved into the public, a part of the county. And there's no job openings when I come in to work at ECAT, so I take the job over here to drive paratransit. ECAT is definitely a step up in driving in our industry, transit. So where do I have the opportunity first to come up into the ECAT system versus somebody off the street versus somebody that's working for the county or doing something like that?
So
we're talking transit. We're not talking about county. We're talking transit.
Actually, transit is county, so we really need to get that clear.
Doesn't feel like we don't have a raise.
That's your choice, that they don't have a
No,
raise.
it's not my choice. It's your choice to not recognize our progression.
Mr. Administrator, so I'm going back to the best of my knowledge that the sales tax and transit is not, even though it's under the county, it's under a different budget of the county, and the reasons for it is transit has always been broke out separately within the county structure. now that you're bringing it in the county, it's still a separate division.
I mean,
Am I
our
wrong in
budget-
saying so?
Taxpayer dollars pay the salaries of all county employees, including mass transit.
Out of the general fund?
It doesn't matter what fund it's coming
No.
out of, I'm just saying taxpayer dollars. You're a public employee. Technically a public servant, I mean, we're
Right.
all public servants.
I don't know if we see philosophically see it, if you see it, but I understand where you're coming from.
And I'm not saying that the scenario wouldn't occur where that trolley worker who's only been working there for 2 years and driving the bus wouldn't get that opportunity. They would still have the same opportunity. It's equal opportunity. That's what it's about, allowing other factors and not pigeonholing into a contract that it absolutely has to go this way.
No, I do have a question, and I don't know the answer to it, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What other county workers in the state of Florida do it the way you're suggesting doing it in transit?
What was the question?
I'm sorry.
I think he asked what other county, workers in other municipalities essentially do it the way that we're talking about in transit.
Do what?
I haven't a clue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I don't think any of us know the answer to that question. I mean, it's something we could
I don't
look
understand the
into, but
question.
I don't know that.
I don't understand the question.
They want you
So Palm, what is it? What is
Palm
it?
Beach
Where's the
County?
light at,
Palm
Mikey?
Tran?
Palm train?
Palm Trans. It's the same thing. So, but I'm curious to know whether they hire from the outside first or do they hire from within their ranks and files?
We're looking.
Because our position right now is, you know, that we want to keep the current language that we had in our old contract and our proposal in TA that we agreed on back in November. That's our position as of today.
Okay.
That article's open.
I don't think we have to.
It's, no, that article's open, Article 10.
That's Article 2.
Mike, can I take this back to the wages, Article 35?
He's not in the room.
Oh, my bad, I'm sorry, I can't see.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Curtis. He just stepped out real quick.
No, that's fine.
I was in the room and I didn't even realize it. He was sneaky.
Sure.
So,
Uh,
we're waiting for Mike to come in for that, Curtis, but just speaking to the Article 10, the paratransit system, which has been contracted all those years at low wages and poor benefits. By the way, they deserve hazard pay too. Matter of fact, they've been transporting people right to these facilities, these long-term facilities, and picking people up there. But the concern is that I get the feeling that they're in the transit system. Your own mass transit director is the one that oversees that system. She's in charge of communicating with them. And I have no thing against county workers, we represent them as well. What my concern is they're in the transit system and they don't have any way of progressing up other than with the recommendation that you're making the decision whether what's the qualifications and you know, I mean, we could sit there and run scenarios all day long, but what's the scenario? You know, you gave one scenario, I gave another. Which one determines, I have no securement to say this is what gets you hired up and moved up. Because then the moment happens, the paratransit driver with 5 years experience transporting passengers applies. Next thing you know, a 20-year county employee or internally applies with no experience in transporting passengers gets the job over them.
That's unlikely to happen.
It's unlikely. But I've seen, well, that's your response. But there's no assurances that it's going to be assured that that's not gonna happen. I mean, because the language isn't there. Now, if we had language that laid it out in a certain way, we might consider that.
It's never happened that way.
I mean, if you're saying to me, Curtis, if Jenna's saying to me that having previous transit experience and being a county employee, we'd be open to language to that. If that is what you're saying, using the example you used, we'd be open to that. Obviously, we would be open to that.
Well, it's to your point, you
But that's
said
not
there's
what
so
it
many
says.
scenarios we can come up with. If we started that, we really would have to just go through every kind of possible scenario.
Exactly. That's why
what
I'm
saying.
back
So-
to-
And so taking that out of there, the seniority, the automatically the paratransit has it over any county employee, allows for other scenarios to possibly take place. We're always gonna do, whomever is best qualified to hold that position is who should get that position, always.
And I just be straight with you, I'm not comfortable that I trust who makes that
And
decision
I
of who's most
understand where you're
qualified.
coming from.
Because, you know, if I got a 16-year employee at Paratransit and they don't get it because some other county employee gets it,
Well,
they've been in the
depends.
system for 16 years, for instance.
It depends if they already have their CDL.
Well, if you didn't look at our language then, because our language allows for anyone to have up to 90 days during the probationary
Yeah,
period. to
but we
achieve that.
weren't real big fans of that either.
Well,
Because the whole point of minimum qualifications, minimum qualifications to do your job means day one that you show up on the job, that's what a minimum
CDL.
qualification is. So if I need a CDL to drive a bus by myself, on day one of the job, that's a minimum requirement for the job, and nobody should hold that job
Jen,
accountable.
I gotta say this to you then.
Yeah.
You're making it very
There's two
difficult
things.
because
Let me-
in a
let me
standard,
say-
Curtis,
let me jump
okay, go ahead.
I want to be a straight shooter.
Okay,
I represent the folks at Paratransit, I represent the folks at EK. My interest is in those folks because we make sure that they're trained, not just CDL holders, but they're professionals, and we hold our members to a standard, and we hold the employers to a standard by collectively bargaining that standard. So I just want to be very honest and straightforward that our position is that we protect the members that we represent first, and then anybody after that is who we would represent. I just want to be a straight shooter. The bottom line is we want to protect our members, and we want our members to have a career path within the state of County Transit.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So can we go back to Article 35 since I don't know when Mike's coming back in?
Curtis, I did check, I have, you said Broward, correct?
No.
But Palm Beach, I have Palm Trans here, and unless, I don't know unless they've changed the language, I don't see anything specifically related to paratransit. It just mentions, employees currently employed by the company. So I don't know if, Palm Tran has, paratransit already within the organization or if it's separate, under a separate management contract.
Well, we can both pursue, if you don't mind. We can both pursue to find it out.
Okay.
Thank you, Tanya.
Oh, no problem at all.
So Curtis, you want to talk
Just let me
about
know.
35?
Yeah, I don't mind. So on 35, Article 35, Section 2, maintenance shift differential, we can agree to that section. I'm going to come back to the maintenance P, technician P.
Curtis,
The second.
I don't see them writing anything down. I don't think they know that you're actually
yeah.
responding to their proposal.
oh, yeah, I was about to say, I thought we
Just
were
one,
talking
I
about-
did want to clarify that Palm Trans says the same thing that you said Broward says. What's Palm Trans?
This is Palm Trans.
Yeah, Palm Trans says the same thing, that the company will make every effort. So it looks like it's the same, as similar to our language. just talks
Yeah,
about.
we'll call, Mike, you need to call the president down there and we'll find out.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it, so I will,
The contract's online, I just
We
pulled
just
it up.
pulled it up, so we're looking at the existing
I have
contract.
the contract now.
So, wait,
And we have it right here online because it's pulled up from
It's
their
on their
website.
website,
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Curtis, could you start over with
Yeah,
what
I'm
you were
sorry.
saying before?
But the wages,
This was on
Oh,
35.
Yes, Article 35, wage rates, Section 2, I'm skipping over Section 1 for right now. Section 2, the maintenance shift differential, which we agree with, that's
our Article 35. I'm sorry, Curtis, that's why there was a little bit of confusion. Okay,
It's the one that was handed out, this one right here.
yeah, okay. It was what, you're speaking to what we gave you, and I'm sorry, we were looking at what y'all gave us. So I was like, section 2, we don't have a section 2. Okay.
Okay,
yes, I'm working off of your proposal.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
So you said section 2 is good
On the differential,
Yes.
for maintenance?
Section 2 is fine with us with the changes made there. Section 3, the first paragraph is okay with us. Paragraph 2 and 3, I have a counter proposal I would like to give you verbally. That the counter proposal is in paragraph 2. We would like to unstrike the language customer service complaints for disciplinary action and strike out for disciplinary action, I'm sorry, and keep the language in paragraph 3. We would agree to the 2 years if you can agree to our changes. If I need to repeat that, I will.
so you're saying with the exception of those 2 paragraphs, you're okay with the rest of the article with the exception of section 1?
No.
No, what I'm saying is, for the second paragraph and third paragraph, you made some significant changes. You made going from 12 months to 2 years and crossed out the customer service complaint and put forward disciplinary action. Disciplinary action can mean anything and everything. So what we're countering this is that you unstrike for one or more customer service complaints and strike out the part that says for disciplinary action, and then we could live with the 2-year part of customer service complaint, and this as a result in that discipline, customer service complaint. And we would like to keep the current language that's in paragraph 3. So basically what I'm saying to you, we can agree to the 2 years if you can agree to reinstate customer service complaint and discipline, scratch out or disciplinary action, and leave paragraph 3.
oh, he's saying.
Okay, we understand.
Strike.
Paragraph 4, we don't have any problem with. It's okay with the changes. Paragraph 5, we're okay with those changes and modifications. Paragraph 6, the little small one that says employees use as training support, we'd like to keep the language that's crossed out, which is the current language. We'd like to keep that. And section 4, we're okay with crossing out that language. Section 5, we're okay with, we believe we're okay, but there's a question I have to ask you. for number 5. And number 5 is, what would the trolley operator starting pay along with the part-timers before we agree to remove?
It's
So-
already addressed in the progression table.
So, where it says employees use as training support that do not qualify as a driver instruction, where you have it struck through, we wanna keep it current. Because there's just, we don't understand, we can't, unless you're going to clarify that no bus operator is gonna have a trainee on their bus ever, then we have no issue with it. But, but if you're going to, we know how it works at ECAT, they're gonna put trainees on a bus with any operator to ride along, and there's gonna be a communication between them. No operator's gonna sit there on a layover at the end of the line and not communicate to a trainee and give them insight and teach them the route when that person's riding the bus. So that's why, you know, we think they deserve 75 cents an hour extra, because otherwise they're told not to even communicate with them, but we know that that's not how it works.
So will you be providing a written counter to memorialize this?
We can't.
Okay, then we
Yeah,
understand your
okay.
position.
Yeah.
Did I,
So you want us, you're written to everything I said, is that correct?
I was asking if you intended to provide a written counter, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
so,
I don't think we'll have the ability to give that counter today.
no,
but we will give
that's
it
quite all
during the
right.
next session.
That's quite all right.
well, I might be able to email it to them, but I don't know if I can. I can't, I don't have access to a printer.
Yeah, you can if you could email it, that'd be fine.
That's fine, next
So,
bargaining session.
Section 5 is a question for us. Curtis, section 5, you strike all the way.
Yeah, I thought I just did,
Yeah,
section 5
but they didn't
was
clarify
about
that.
what is the minimum for, what is the probationary and the pay for a part-time operator and a trolley operator?
What is the
When they come in the door, what are they gonna make?
For the 90 days.
For the first 90 days, it's minimum wage.
minimum wage?
Which is minimum wage.
Which minimum,
What do you mean by
Here,
minimum
here,
wage?
here,
Because
it's
you
the
got
hour.
minimum wage on the document.
Minimum wage.
the federal minimum
don't-
wage, so 8.56, is that the, yeah,
Okay.
8.56. It's whatever it's whatever the federal minimum wage, is what it
Federal or
was
state?
talking about.
So it's the same.
All right.
Is it
I see
state
that.
or
State, we go by the state.
Okay. Then state.
Okay, what about when they go out of training up to their 90th day? What are they making?
I see, so between training and 91 days?
Yeah, I'm
what
assuming you're
asking?
saying training is the first.
First 90 days. That's my understanding.
Yes.
First 90 days.
I'm not sure if I heard overtime said, I'm sorry.
From what I'm reading here, it looks like the training is any days, 90 days and below, so.
Yeah.
56.
I think it's the whole, probationary, is it? Whole
Probationary.
period, yeah. So during the whole probationary period, they would earn the minimum wage. Once they come out of it, they would go
That's not
to.
currently what it's
So wait, so I'm lost.
We're
So,
talking about trolley operators, correct?
So-
And part-time operators.
so let me get this
Okay,
straight.
sorry.
I wanna
was
make sure.
internet for trolley.
I wanna make sure I got this straight. So you're saying when you hire in a bus operator, I haven't seen you ever post for a full-time bus operator position.
We do not.
That when you hire into a new class, at least we haven't seen that happen yet.
Correct.
So you're saying that if a class comes in, you designate, this person's gonna be a trolley driver, this one's gonna be a part-time driver, this one over here is gonna be a full-time driver.
Normally it's either part-time or trolley operator.
Is that clarified in the beginning of the class or after training is through and then you decide where they're gonna go?
The actual, when the jobs are posted, the vacancy, it says either part-time or the trolley operator. Right now, we have both of those positions vacant, that have been posted on the county's website. A trolley operator and a part-time operator.
Will the class be held at the same time for both job positions and they have to clarify at the beginning of the thing which one they want?
So you just kinda unilaterally removed less than 90 days for a full-time bus operator.
Well, we don't hire in it with a full-time bus operator. Right now, we only hire in with part-time or trolley operator. So when a full-time position comes available, if we have any part-timers that are currently already employed, then, you know, based on seniority,
What if you have no part-timers and you need to promote up to full-time?
we're still probably gonna do the part-timers and then move them into full-time.
And they're gonna be full-time after their 90 days?
No, it's not automatic if there's a full-time position available.
So what would
I'm
they
not
be
clear
thinking
what
if
your
they were
que-
part-time operators?
I'm sorry?
After their 90 days and they're still part-time operators, what will they be making?
1475.
Yeah, but I think Tanya and I are not on the same page here.
Yeah, I'm
Tanya and I are definitely not on the same page. What I'm trying to say to you, Tanya, is if there is no part-timers, which you, right now, when you promote these next three
Yes.
up, there will be no part-timers.
Correct.
And a scenario is you need to hire another full-timer. You're telling me a second ago, what you said is you wouldn't do that. You would just hire them in as part-time to avoid paying them the $12.78 an hour.
It's not to avoid it, but we have traditionally hired everyone in as a part-timer or as a trolley operator. And there have been instances where folks, once they've gotten out of class, they've ended up being full-time. If we had those vacancies. So there's some that have come in as part-time, when they get out of training, they automatically, because we have a lot of full-time vacancies available. But during the class, everyone is either a part-time operator or a trolley operator.
Yes. I have a question. So, trolley operators and part-time operators,
Yes.
go back to when you hire them for your training class,
Mhm.
do they have to specify which way they're gonna go? When they start the class, or do you wait till after the training is through?
Well, depending upon what they applied for, because everyone that applied for a trolley operator may not have applied for a part-time position. So if Jane Doe applies for a trolley operator position, gets interviewed, gets accepted, the intention is that she will be a trolley operator. Now, in the
So-
past that we have, you know, depending upon, in the past, there's been instances where someone may have come in as a trolley operator and end up being a part-time operator. But since they both start off at the same, before they get out on the road.
Okay. Next question is, how long is the training, because according to this, for full-time operators, you got the training where it's minimum wage, and then less than 90 days, they're making $12.78, according to this. But under part-timers, you just have 91 days plus at $14.75, so what do they make in the first 90 days? Is it gonna be minimum wage the whole 90 days? Or is it minimum wage for training and then it bumps up to $12.78 until they get to their 90 days? That's the question we're having, is
Yeah.
what is
So
the
I see
difference
what
between?
you're saying. So basically, if you're a part-time operator and on your 91st day, we have 3 full-time vacancies. So then you're gonna go to the 91 days of the full-time.
That's not my question.
No,
My
no.
question is the 90-day period.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That step of
Training,
y'all's wage progression
There's
for
training,
full-time
and then
is not
there's
in there
after
for the
your training.
part-time.
Because
Yes.
it doesn't take usually 3 months to do, I've never, to go through training, unless y'all are changing the way you're doing your training. But after your training, right, we understand there's minimum wage for training.
Yes.
What do they go to after training if they're still within their 90 days? What is that rate
It's not
at?
built in there.
It's not in here,
built
it
in
doesn't say what it
No,
is.
it doesn't say.
Correct.
So I will say, for the record, that paying minimum wage, you're gonna, good luck. That's all I'm gonna say, is good luck. For your recruitment there. You're working on recruitment on one side, but not the other.
So if we could get that number.
Recruitment for bus operators at
We need to know what that number is.
$8.56 an hour. Wow, okay. So Mike Mattamore's still not in the room, Curtis.
Okay, well, Kirsten and everybody else is there, so, unless they wanna go wait for them to come back, I mean, it's up to them.
I do have, I just noticed another thing, Curtis. We want to make a note to you on something, Tanya. Under technician P, it says 1765, which is what, I can't even recall who was the previous technician P that was ever hired, because my memory serves, it might have been Patrick Forsman or somebody, or
Patrick and
David,
Matt
right?
Daniels,
or Matt Daniels, yeah, it's been a long time ago, when they actually hired in someone as a Tech P, everyone else was hired in as a Tech 1, right? It's listed at 1765, but the labor agreement actually says under Article 38, number 5, under A5, it says in the very end, it says, P technicians will be paid at the same rate as a technician 1. And now that we have a technician P on the property, I know there might have been a typo or a mistake on both parties there to go to 1765, but obviously the labor agreement, the intent was to take care of the technician P, and it was more of a probationary period to review that tech, not to hurt them financially, because it's also another thing that affects your recruitment. So I just want to say that we're going to be asking you to change that pay on Justin Pittman.
Yeah, Rodriguez already spoke to Mr. Pittman last night, and we've already been speaking with Colette to try to make sure we get some clarification on this.
Okay. Okay. So, clarification, you'll let us know?
Yes.
I'd like to move to the retirement buyout.
To the buyout, yes.
Yes. Dr. D. Masoya.
I didn't bring extra copies of that, but I have one.
So we're going to your MOA, I guess you call it, MOA.
So y'all have introduced 25 years, and we'd like to, I'm sorry?
Nobody said anything.
Nobody said anything.
Oh, I heard something. Okay. I'd like to offer that we put 22 years in there and replace the 25 years. On the next paragraph, I'd like you guys to give us an example written out so we understand what the math is. We've done the math, but we want to make sure it's exactly what you're offering. So I'd like an example. And then in the next paragraph where it says eligibility of employees, we'd like to offer the language to say any bargaining unit employees who become eligible within 1 year of the effective date of this agreement can, instead of two, can, and then the rest of the language remains the same.
Curtis, can you check your text for a second, text message?
What did you ask me, Mike?
Check your text message there.
I'm sorry, I said 22, yes. It's 20 years. I'm sorry,
20 years.
ladies.
It's not 22, it's 20.
Yeah, I was like, did
20,
he say 22?
20 years. He said 22.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
20.
So y'all want to change it from 25 years of service to 20 years?
So 20 years, yes.
And then this paragraph is the one that you want changed.
Okay. And is,
That's about the agreement, to basically give it anybody who retires from the union.
All right.
Can somebody give
Can
us
you
a-
repeat that sentence again?
Yeah.
Let me
So,
type this
yeah.
in.
Absolutely.
The eligible employees.
Anyone in the bargaining unit, employees, who become eligible within 1 year from the date of this agreement, instead of two, it can, and the rest of the language remains the same.
Could you get that? Any employee, here we go. Now she's got it. Any employee within the bargaining unit
who becomes eligible?
who becomes eligible. Okay.
Within a
That
year?
was the part, yeah. Within a year?
Within the year
Yes.
effective date?
Yep.
From the effective date.
good for the rest of it?
Yep.
Mike, check your email, your text. I'll text you back.
Okay, I got you. Curtis, and I missed that because I had somebody in my ear when you were talking. Did we, where it has the formula, did we ask them to put that in writing? He did? Okay.
He did.
Okay, my bad. Give us an example.
And then, I have a question. I know Mr. Malamore is not there, but Christian, if you can help me with this, I would appreciate it. Instead of us going through word for word, and keeping a lot of time today, the TAs that you handed us, were there any changes to the TAs that were agreed to previously in November? Were there any changes? We would be willing to sign off on them, only there was no changes to any of the language of it.
I believe
This helps us.
there were minimal things that I caught going through, like references to company, and that would be highlighted. So if anything is highlighted, then it may differ from
The previous.
the previous.
Okay. so
Otherwise,
this is
no,
not-
to my knowledge, there is not.
Okay. So we'll just
But I
take-
would want you all to look at them.
Okay, so, we looked through the big package that you gave us dated 6/5, and, Article 17, 18, 19, and 24, we would like to keep as agreed to in the November TA that was taken to the Board of Commissioners. That's for those articles, we know we would like to keep that language and remain the same. We didn't have enough time in our hour to do any more work than that. But for us, those four, we'd like to leave as what was previously agreed to.
Can you repeat that, Curtis?
He said 17, 18, 19, and 24.
Yes.
Basically keep as the same TAs prior to, that we previously TA'd. As we proposed in November.
And that's all we had, as any counters or any discussions, that's all we had a chance to do within an hour.
Okay?
So, I just want to make something here about wages. I'm trying to understand something here, because it's concerning. My members are very concerned about this, and I'm concerned. I feel like you haven't moved at all or given us a clear direction of what you're trying to achieve when it comes to wages. All we know is you want to give it 3% to existing employees, but what you haven't responded to us is why there's a clear language in the contract for progression for individuals to reach top pay within 3 years for those classifications, and we haven't heard what your reasoning is. I've heard Janet say to leave that to continue to bargain, but we're here to bargain. I'm here to bargain now about wages, and I'm trying to find out why is that not being relayed across the table
And
to
that's
us
fine,
of the specifics of why you're not addressing that.
So when I just wanted to make it clear when I said continue bargaining, the 3% that was on the table for the employees, they can have that right now, and it doesn't affect anything else in the contract. That's what we're trying to say. Like, you can still negotiate everything. It will get the money into their hands now, and it doesn't impact anything else. We'll
Jennifer,
still bargain.
the problem with that is, once I agree to that, then will take your position going after that, and that's the problem that I have.
What do you mean? Oh, the same position?
I have language that says it's a 3-year progression. If your position is you want to change it to a 4-year or something like that, why aren't you putting those proposals across the table to us so we know what your real position is? I don't know what you're trying to achieve here when it comes to our progression that's been there for 75 years. And I need you to tell us that, because we can't even react to that and understand where you're trying to go until you tell us. Other than I feel like you know that we're very passionate about the progression, the language we have in the contract. And so Ms. Ellis, who's been working there all those years, 20+ years, knows that that is something that works with the workforce. The workforce does not have an issue with it. We would love to have longevity pay for years of service, but obviously the state of Florida is not allowing us to do that. So I'm just saying that I need to know why you're trying to do this. What is so hard of applying that 3% tied to the progression rather than the existing employees? Why don't you want to give future employees the same, to let them enter into the same progression?
We're not saying that we don't ever. We're trying to get the money into the current employee. We think the employees who exist, who are currently operating as bus operators, deserve an increase in pay. We are trying to give them 3% and continue negotiating for everything else. Your workers deserve an increase in pay. We're trying to get that to them as quickly as possible and then continue to negotiate everything else.
Okay, we understand that,
Okay.
but she just also told us that we're gonna be short, have no part-timers once those part-timers go to full-time. So how are we gonna explain to those new people that are hired that, oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna be a step below everybody else because we didn't care about you at negotiations?
That's not what.
But it is our problem, because we have to explain it to those people why there's always gonna be a step below. So then when that gets out.
So let me jump in. Look, I think in previous bargaining sessions, we have already said to you guys, Ms. Administrator, especially, that we signed off on an MOU prior to that did it the way we're suggesting doing. You want to come in this and change the MOU, and that's our hand. The previous 3% was divvied the way we are asking for it to be divvied up now. And for some reason, we want to make a change to that. And that is where the hang-up is.
Under Eric Kleiner and Amy Lavoie, Jack Brown, we didn't have, or not Jack, Amy Lavoie and Eric Kleiner, previous time we had no issue. There was no issue to that.
But previous to that, Jack Brown you signed the exact same language with Jack
And it
Brown
was
that I
applied to the
provided to
progression.
you. And, the language that, well, somebody might have applied it to the progression, but the language that I provided you last October was the same language that had been signed 24 months prior.
Well, that was under First Transit, and it was applied to the,
That was
First Transit
county
applied it
work,
to the
that was
progression.
not for the each areas. So, no, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that was under First Transit. The one that Curtis just mentioned was under you all. It was under the county, when you applied it just the way it's supposed to be applied to the progression.
Well, you're saying how it's supposed to be applied. When the board approves that for all the county employees, they determine how it's supposed to be applied. So when they approved it and y'all received it, even under a private entity, y'all applied it, the private entity applied it how they interpreted it, not how the board intended.
And they applied it to the
First time
progression.
we got a pay raise under the county, we went to the progression.
So,
Let's not digress. Y'all know our position, we understand your position. And, you know,
well, I think,
we're good at our position. We've shared with you that the county has done it previously, why it was not the private contractor, why it was under the county. And so that's our position. So we don't need to argue with you guys.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
we understand.
well, Curtis, you're on my team, but I'm gonna say this to you. It's been quite a while now, and they wanna refer to us as a department under the county, but they don't wanna give the employees under their labor contract the correct wage increase, and that's wrong. You're ignoring the labor contract and the language. The progression is there. All you gotta do is apply it to the progression. Every employee would get a raise, existing employees would get a raise then. The factor that you're trying to do is you're trying to not negotiate the fact that new employees come in and won't get it.
We said we would still negotiate that. We're trying to get them.
I'm here to negotiate now, Jenna.
Okay, and that's
on
fine, and we're
that.
talking about a lot of other stuff. What we're saying is, anything we negotiate today, if we keep it within the contract, that won't go into effect until the contract is fully ratified. That's the entire contract. That means your employees, current, new, whatever, would not receive any of the wage increases until this entire contract is ratified. What we're trying to do is say, hey, your current employees deserve to get an increase in pay. We've removed that outside of this contract to give it to y'all so they can get the increase and we can still go through the rest of the contract. It's more of the timing thing. Because I don't think it's fair
So
for the
you're-
employees to suffer,
Can you-
us having to go through all the other articles of this contract and still not getting an increase in pay. So even today, if we, even today, if I said, yeah, we agree to your wage proposal, that wouldn't go into effect until this contract was fully ratified, which means nobody would get the increase. None of your current employees would get an increase in pay until the contract is ratified. We have a bunch of other articles to talk about. That's why we gave the MOU. It's outside the contract. So,
And the MOU can be negotiated to exactly what you did the year before. Exactly what you did the year before.
Once again.
The position you're taking on the MOU is you're not budging, you're not moving, and it does impact.
What would help us, Jana, from what you just said, what would help us is if we talked about an MOU and we agreed to it, let's just say for the sake of saying it, we agreed to what your MOU says, we would only be willing to do that if the TA was already signed off that this is what we agree on. We're not gonna negotiate an MOU and then be in the blind for everything else. It's a trust factor. And right now, when I first came in and you and this administration came in, we told you that there was some trust issues. And so, respectfully, the TA would need to be signed on wages, and the MOU could still provide what it needs to provide to make sure that our members get the wage increase immediately. And the TA would be, as you said, when the contract is ratified. But that's a thing, a hurdle in front of us during this bargaining session.
Okay, were there any other issues that you wanted to discuss?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
That's all we have right now. We can either take a break or go work in lunch and talk discuss, or we can
Bring it back.
try to go through, break the session today and try to go through all of the stuff you gave us. It's up to you guys.
yeah, I think a working lunch would be great.
Yeah, we'll send somebody out to get our food, and then we'll go into the conference room, into the caucus room and work. Okay?
Okay?
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Sure.
Did he hang up on you?
No, I don't know. I got a call on her phone now.
Awesome.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, we went through the TAs,
Yeah.
and I have a stack here to give you to sign for your version. I know you have a stack for me.
Yeah.
The only one we got a question on is 26, which is seniority.
Okay.
It says there are 3 types of seniority under number 1. And it says time and service seniority applies to consecutive years of service except as outlined in Article 51, rehire policy and guidelines for bargaining unit employees. So we're not sure, and then it references that again in the second page under the note. So we were thinking that we better hold off on signing this one until we are sure that we got the rehire issue straight.
Okay.
Article 10, where's that? Oh, right here. And it says Article 10 as well. I'm sorry, it wasn't, but 10 is still open as well.
Okay, let's pull it out of the stack and sign the
I
rest.
pulled it out, but here are the other ones.
Would they have multiple pages? If there's an article with multiple pages, I just initialed each page and signed the last
Oh,
page.
I signed everyone, but that doesn't matter. That's fine. I'm looking. So, ready, Liz? 22. Three. Three paid. $27?
Do 22.
26. That's not on the list. Is that a test? Is that a test? What?
You passed with flying colors.
Thank you.
Well,
30?
17.
Pulled out. So, pulled it out. 40? Three. Stevie Bob's.
yeah, but not in my hand. My head. I'm having a head cramp.
50.
Hmm? No,
And 52.
it's in the law. It's in the Constitution.
Security.
All right, I know we're waiting on Curtis, but we have something that we want to give to you
Okay.
as a result of negotiations throughout the day. Who has that? Who wants to introduce it? Can we
Are
do?
we gonna do that now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
Do you wanna wait for Curtis? 'Cause I'm
Oh, yeah,
curious to
we
see
do.
No,
about-
you can see when he gets
oh,
home.
okay, all right.
Can we email
I
it?
already emailed it to you.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
can go ahead and proceed the email.
So-
Whatever
So,
you're gonna
whatever
give
y'all
us.
can do now. So it's the retirement buyout that we provided in January. What we've done is we've made sure that we provided the calculations so that you can see it's the same calculations of the employees that it was provided to with the money that the board had given us to agree to, the $350,000 that they originally gave to us. And so it's the employees that were employed as of January 1st, 2020, and have the 25 years. And so this is the same, it's the calculation, so it's their 1.25 weeks of regular pay for 40-hour work week per year of service up to 52 weeks. So this is what we have been given to provide to you. So I'm providing this again to make sure that we're clear, because these are the employees that we have as of January 1st that meet this. And as you will see, yes, Mr. McIntyre is still on here. Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Carter are two predominant reasons, not, and all the employees on this list are important, but Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Carter were two particular reasons why we wanted to make sure, and the board wanted to make sure that we provided this in January. So I wanted to provide this again to you to be very clear. This was the retirement buyout that was provided then, and here are the calculations and the employees that we had that would qualify as of January 1st, 2020. So,
Okay.
and, you know, all of these employees, as you can tell, you know, have 44 to 34 years. And I think there was only maybe one other employee that might have been under between 25 and 30, or there was a
32 was,
30, yeah, Sophia was the 32-year employee. So the thing is clearly these employees do have a long service with, whether it be Viola or First Transit, and then they came over as county employees. And so, you know, everyone felt very strongly, the board and myself and the other leadership here felt very strongly that we need to try and do something to take care of them. So I just want to make sure that we reiterated that's what we provided, and we'd like to provide that again. And the $350,000 is something that I, you know, when I got here last year, was a number that I was given as the number to work within the boundaries of. And, you know, we did go a little bit over that 350, but I did have permission to go over that 350 a little bit for this particular situation. So I want to just reiterate, you know, we felt very strongly that we do need to resolve the buyout issue for these particular employees, but myself and others, you know, have always been very concerned for Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Carter, just because of how many years of service they already had. So there is that again.
Go ahead.
So I have a question. So out of these employees, what happens if only 3 people decide they want to take the buyout? What happens to the rest of that money?
Well, I think that we have to discuss that at that time, whenever I don't know that I have personally been told, or the leadership, have you been told, Tanya, from any of these individuals specifically?
No, we received an email from Mr. Lowry. I forgot,
Yeah.
trying to look back, after our last negotiation.
Yeah, so I do think that if they would like to say, I mean, there's no reason to not be able to have a conversation about that once that happens, but the amount of money was the 350 that the board, you know, I don't know where that number came from, it came way before me, and that was the number that we were given to work with, so.
So, yes, I got 2 questions. One is, Mr. McIntyre, is he still included in this, or?
Yes,
is-
yes, it
That's
says
why
right
That's
here.
why it says,
we-
that's why it
we-
says so if you were employed as of January the 1st,
Yeah.
and at
And
January 1st
January
had
1st.
25
Yeah,
years of service.
It did say current, which.
So we changed
So we
it to
changed the
say-
language to include Mr. McIntyre.
Okay.
Because the original was.
So what
provided.
about if they had accrued, if they choose to go with the buyout, what's the status of their sick leave and cashing out that and all that?
Uh,
That would still be per contract, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Our current-
this is
you know, what
strictly,
we're operating
you know, and
under.
this is something that, you know, is clearly outside of the negotiation of the contract, right? This is
Right.
something extra.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Commissioner May was pretty passionate about
They're,
it.
they're not waiving any.
I would say that
any
all of the
setbacks.
commissioners, I want to be very clear that all the commissioners are very passionate about this.
So have you had a chance to talk amongst yourselves about our request to go to 20 years?
And this would be our response to that. We are going back to the original agreement with making sure that we clarify that the employees that were employed on January 1st still have that opportunity.
Right, because this spends the money that would actually goes over what our authorization. But so this spends all the money. And what Janice is saying is that if somebody doesn't opt for this benefit, and that money then is released, the administrator's gonna sit down and have a conversation with you about how that's spent.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying, so basically if there's three
That could be spent-
3 or 4 of them that don't opt into this, then we could revisit for that monies to be looked at for
Yeah.
others.
We'll pull that money out,
Okay?
POL.
But I
not
would
pull.
like those individuals to, you know, just make sure that it's very clear their their intent one way or the other.
Okay. Okay, we'll discuss that now that we understand. And, sorry, but I need to know, how do you get to that calculation of that number? Just one more time, I'll make sure I do it right. Is it right there? So you do 1966, you already multiplied it out? Okay. Okay, so, can we ask, you got anything else before I ask?
No.
On the, Article 20, we had a kind of a response from you, which is the healthcare. I wanted to ask a couple questions if I could, when we get to it. Because I heard what you said, but I want to understand something. Off our proposal that we gave you
Yeah.
for healthcare. Pull it up here. So, earlier, when you heard Curtis, he went through each section and kind of said, we're good with that section, we're good with this one, we have an issue with this one. We haven't heard that from you, so what I'm curious is, on our proposal on Article 20, I did hear you make a few comments, but I'm curious about the language that we proposed, where you're at with it versus what you proposed.
Well, we gave you a 20 on 11, 12, 19, and I think that on your section 1 and our section 1 is the same, except that you kind of broke out short-term disability into a separate sentence as being provided to all transit workers, where we had it as simply we provide long-term disability, short-term disability to all of the regular county employees at their cost. So it has to say, well, at the same level of coverage and cost as provided to other regular county employees is okay for long-term disability, but you'd have to take short-term disability and put that up in that sentence too. So that's your one. We offered one representative to serve on the Employee Benefits Committee. You want two. So that's two from just this one unit. I don't know how big that committee is.
That was our dilemma, so just so you know that what we
It has
didn't.
one from each bargaining, so each bargaining unit is allotted one representative.
Here's where our concern was, you know. We've attended some of them, and we've seen a lot of people in there. We're not sure who's actually on the committee and who's just listening.
I see what you're
And so
saying.
we
Yeah.
walk in and we see 25, 30 people sitting in the room,
Yeah.
we kind of go, how many people are on this committee? We don't even know who the voting members are.
I think that departments and people too.
To
right?
just like, kind of like here, where they're just like listening, and then some are consulting, they're not voting members, but the people who know benefits, so like for my department, I'm not on the committee, I would just be consulting in terms of like, we
So
know benefits.
how many, I understand there's 5 unions, there's 5 union
9,
representatives.
there's
How many
9.
beyond that?
9. There's 9 total on the committee,
9 total? on the
9
committee?
members total on the committee.
On the committee, they're voting members. And
Correct.
the union has a vote.
So who's in
Correct.
that committee?
Well,
Exactly.
I'm good, okay?
So the rest of those people,
So-
they're just for entertainment value. They just want to see the committee.
Well, I'm telling you, we walked in and I was like, oh my God, look at all these people.
They just think it's great to see the committee, you know.
I didn't even admit to
They're laughing
the
at
folks
us.
in here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
with you telling me it's 9, there's not gonna be an issue with changing that back to 1.
Okay, good.
And
So
I can give you the board policy that stipulates where that comes from.
I think I have it.
Okay,
But
okay.
that one had 15 on there, and then there was some strike through, so I wasn't sure how you got, what number it was.
I remember that, I remember having a discussion about the felonious assault bond, and I thought,
I thought it was 100,000.
then we had one at 100,000, or we agreed to 100,000.
Oh,
I
I
mean-
think that's what's currently provided.
Yeah,
Is
I
it,
think
Tanya?
I believe so, but I'd have to verify that.
I mean, that's a lot of assault for. I mean, to get past 100,000 is a lot of assault. I mean, that's like, you know, It's like,
Well, we put a number out there because you didn't put a number at all on there, so we
well,
were kinda
I
like,
think our
what
number
number
is
is it?
100,000.
And we know in our old contract, it was 100,000, and that contract was there for years.
Yeah,
So we're kinda wondering.
that's like Mike Tyson salt, 300,000.
It can happen.
Tanya, if you could just confirm,
Yeah,
and we
I'm
can put
confirm.
whatever the current is.
Yeah, confirm it now.
You gonna bite someone's ear off?
I know somebody did some zero.
So, and the difference there was we wanted it in 90 days to be implemented, you wanted a year from the date of implementation of the contract.
I think there already is one, so.
Yeah.
What is the dollar amount?
I believe it's 100, but I'm checking now.
Okay.
100,000, let me check.
And what is your issue, how about our section 4 of our proposal?
Is that what we currently
That's
get?
what we currently get now.
And we're
Yeah,
just
I mean-
saying a minimum of 40,000.
Right,
Well,
and if
you-
if you opt out of our insurance, you get an extra 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
Currently.
wouldn't
But
need to
that's
state
separate
that
too.
based on
That's
this.
beyond the 40,000, I mean, you can
Yeah.
opt out.
Yeah, I mean, you could put life insurance, see, we have life insurance up in section 1. So that's already, you have it,
Yeah.
so it's redundant.
Because there's other life insurances that you can buy into as well, right?
Well, okay, all right, but,
Additional life insurance.
okay, I mean, we're
So-
good with that.
So let me just make sure I got this straight. So our difference is, short-term is one issue, but where were you at with the note, by the way?
Oh, yeah, so, because we have a we use USI as our broker, they're the ones that good faith operate with us. And so we're not saying the union, that's the point of the benefits committee, is to be able to give feedback based off your membership
Yeah.
and whatnot, but we leave it to the professionals who it's like their full-time job to do that, to know the ins and outs of all the insurances, to negotiate those types of situations.
Okay.
So,
I was talking about the note.
I know, that
Yeah.
says the union does not waive its right to demand negotiations on insurance policies regarding the providers, plans, premiums, all of that. That's what I'm saying. Our
Oh.
broker, our insurance broker, is the one that helps us out with that. And if we've already procured something and entered into a contract, we can't do anything about it.
I understand, but I think Mike might understand that we don't want to waive our rights. So what we're saying is there's a committee. We're going to participate in that committee, and as the committee works through it, and then, there's a vote in the committee that says, make that recommendation to the
Yeah.
commissioners. It's probably not going to be an issue, right? It's probably not going to be an issue
I don't think they're
to sit there and say, we want to, break out and have a discussion, but we don't want to waive our rights under the idea of healthcare.
We don't
And not say that we waived our rights away to negotiate healthcare.
Well, see, okay, I do have a different perspective on this. I think what we're doing is we're reaching an agreement that there's gonna be a county-wide uniform plan, and that plan is what we're agreeing upon for the purpose of this contract.
Okay.
So if that plan gets better, if it changes, whatever, we're not going to lower your benefits below the uniform county plan. But the problem with having language other than that is, we really cannot go into every bargaining unit, we can't go into every department, and negotiate a separate healthcare plan. Providers won't let you do it. They just won't let the pool be, they won't let you carve out a workforce into a variety of different pools. So, we are actually reaching an agreement. You're not waiving anything, you're actually agreeing. And that's how we read this language, that we're both agreeing.
Okay.
And so,
So,
let's say, for example, the provider situation. Let's say if we have United Healthcare, and United Healthcare is this.
Curtis, I'm sorry, Mike.
Go ahead, sure.
I'm sorry to stop you, Mike.
No, it's okay.
Can I step out with the team to talk to Curtis? Let me
No,
step
go
out
ahead,
and
go
talk
ahead,
to
do
him.
that, yeah.
I think he's probably.
I was on a roll, everything
I know
else I
you
said
were.
was great. It's gonna be great.
Listening to. He
He
wants
was
you
giving a great soliloquy.
Yes, listen, I was focused.
Like, sorry, can you start from the beginning?
She was like, finally.
Yeah.
All right, we're ready.
Well, Ms.
So
Gillian is
before
back.
Janice gets in, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna verbally say what we did.
Okay,
so
well,
he
real quick,
understands what
let
we
me,
did.
I know I said it to you a while ago, but since we're back on the record, I did want to go on the record about the benefits committee. I was just accounting for the county employees, and I forgot about our constitutionals, sorry guys. So when you account for the constitutionals, which is the clerk of court, the clerk of court, the tax collector, it is 15.
Okay.
9
Okay.
Ah, see what I did there?
Okay. So,
Because we do we do their benefits as well, even though they're not.
so if I could regroup real fast, just so Curtis knows where we're at.
Sure.
So Curtis, Mike handed me the TAs on his side, I gave him the TAs on my side. We did have a question on seniority, on the seniority article 26. So Mike pulled that one out because it had some language tied to rehire policy, Article 51, and to Article 10, the postings and promotions, and since those were not agreed to yet, we held out. So, but we TA'd all those other ones, and we're good to go on that. And then we had a brief discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Curtis.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead, I'm listening.
And then Mike handed us Ms. Gilly handed us a document, kind of what you requested before regarding the buyout and how it is broken down. And, but you should have it. Do you have it? Did you get it from Jenna in an email?
You should have gotten 2 emails from me, Curtis.
I've gotten one, and the other one's probably on its way.
Did you get the one that has a list of employee names and then it has hourly rate, weekly pay multiplied by 1.25, years of service and then total?
So far, I have the one with the MOU.
Yeah, it's stuck in my outgoing mail. Hold on, give me a
Yeah.
The computer's not this morning.
Yep.
Barely.
Aw.
All right, Curtis. Looks like it went.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a border terrier from El Pago's.
Okay, I just got something else.
I have a border terrier. No, that's not a border collie.
Okay, I have
It's
it.
been a good dog.
So Curtis, what they said to me was that these are you see the amount there of 369,000 is what the commissioners approved for the individuals that had 30 years of service or more.
No, it was 25 or more. on
25 or
January
more,
1,
but
yeah.
we don't have anyone that's 25. Or
January
I think the lowest we have is 32 years. And what they're saying is that if any of the individuals that are on that list choose not to take the buyout, and that money is left over, that we could revisit to consider individuals 20 years plus. Did I say that wrong?
That could be one consideration, yeah, for sure. But we would sit down with you and talk about how to spend that money on this, in this area. I mean, it could be expand the age of eligibility, or who knows what.
Or it could be that the 10 in there get more.
Whatever you want, that's something for you to talk about with us.
Okay. And Curtis,
Okay,
we
so
also.
my understanding is basically, it's open to talk about how it's settled as long as we, agree that it's 369,000.
Right,
Well-
if everybody took this, then we'd have no more money to talk about, right?
Correct.
Right.
So, I still have a question about the vacation pay and holiday again. I want to make sure, you want to ask it?
So, say that Mr. Carter decides to take this and he gets his 44 years of service and it's 43,252. Is his payout for his vacation time, sick time, everything included in that amount, or is it on top of that amount?
It's on top of this.
Okay, we just
This
wanna
is-
clarify that, 'cause
Yes,
it's
I
on
don't
top.
blame you, I don't blame you for asking that. But yeah, it's on, this is a separate issue.
Okay, just-
In
But
addition,
if Jim wants to, you know,
Huh? Yeah.
if you choose.
Okay, did you get that, Curtis?
I did understand.
Okay. So then we began a brief discussion into the healthcare for just some clarification, Curtis. And I asked them regarding our proposal on healthcare. So when you get an opportunity, pull that up on Article 20, our proposal.
Okay. I'm ready.
So I'm gonna try to do the best of how Mike said it.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it is. Section 1, he noted that that county doesn't provide short-term disability, and that we, while it was listed in theirs, they just don't provide it to all employees.
Well, we provide
At
the
your own
option
expense.
at the.
The option
that's
to
the
buy.
purchase.
Option
Yeah.
to buy,
Yeah.
okay? And we wanted them to pull it out and provide it to the transit workers. The note, I think that's we're starting to have a discussion about the note and the explanation there. Mike, why don't you, or whoever it was that wanted to explain that note?
What we're mutually, no one's waiving any right to demand negotiations, but we are negotiating a group health and insurance policy, which is that we have one uniform policy for all county employees, and that we are going to provide all of those benefits to this unit as we are providing to all the other county employees. You can't go in and cut your benefits. And so that is the negotiated resolution. So I don't think we need the note, because no one's waiving anything. We're actually reaching an agreement. And then we talked about the representatives on the Employee Benefits Committee. And then we talked about the felonious assault bond being already in place, and we think it's.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for.
We're
confirmation.
waiting for some word back, but we think it's $100,000. We don't, and then we give employees, we give employees who can agree to $40,000 of life insurance. Okay, well, all right, full-time employees. I need to be clear about that.
And that's where we were at, Curtis, before you called in, okay?
Okay. Alrighty.
So what do we propose going next and having, do you want to take, I do have a couple questions about the healthcare Article 20 and how I want to, but I want to speak to the team first on it before.
Well, why don't you step outside and do that? We don't have
Yeah.
anything we need to caucus about it, I don't think.
We've given them everything.
We've given them everything we have,
So,
and more.
not saying I like what you did, that's for sure. I've looked at it. So, Curtis, we're gonna step in the caucus room for a minute and just for a minute, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
All right.
No, sit down.
Oh,
I need
he's
the
already
exercise.
doing it.
What's
I
that?
just want to
Hey,
bring,
what?
I just want to bring one.
They're gonna be doing it?
This,
First time in 3
all right,
months I'm
Curtis, you still
ready.
there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good deal.
All right, what do you have to say for yourself?
You probably were listening, so I don't know.
No.
Oh, you were, okay. Curtis, do you want to start?
Yeah, more money, more money, more money.
More money, more problems. Weird. That won't work. That
And
will
more
not
work,
work.
more work.
Yeah,
We'll
Lorraine
start with
says
the buyout,
more.
Curtis.
Yeah, we'll start with the buyout. I think what we'd like to propose is we'll take it to the, hold on, let me.
Somebody, yeah.
He's gotta do it. He's-
Yeah, that was me. We'll take it to the members and we think, so we would all, it's above board and you guys hear what the members have to say, good or bad. We propose that, we have a meeting with the members, on this paper here at least. And, you give a representative off of the bargaining committee and Mike Lowry will be there for us and we hold a conversation about who will take it and who won't. We believe that a few of them won't take it because, you got $33,000 and you got people with 30, 40 years of service. That's, we don't think that everybody's on board with it. So
What about Lorraine?
that's our proposal.
it is.
Curtis? What about Lorraine?
What about me?
We were
We
gonna
said there's
have
not a
her-
Lorraine on here.
We were gonna have her join in to the meeting.
Someone
Right?
from the clerk's office, I'm
Oh,
assuming.
I was
For
like,
financial,
Yeah.
but it's a.
That way they could have someone in the meeting
That can
if
give
they had
answers.
financial
Right.
questions.
yes.
If-
I thought you were,
Come out of the
I thought
chat.
you were offering me the buyout. I'm mad.
I know, I was like, Lorraine.
I'm gone.
I was like, Lorraine's not on this list.
Put me on that list.
You can't do that, you'll dilute
Curtis,
the
that's your
numbers.
pal Lorraine right there.
You took Jim off,
So-
but I can place him.
Would you take Jim?
We had a
Jim's got a
discussion
nice
that
one.
when we bring the individuals in to discuss the buyout, that we would have someone from the union sitting there, because that's what they're gonna want, but someone from the clerk's office sitting there so that they could maybe help them understand what the exact numbers would be and.
Yeah, for like,
Take home.
you're saying for all
Yes.
the leaves and vacation,
Yeah.
whatever their balance
Can we
would be.
get a list before we get there, or is it gonna be?
It's
You
It's
have
this
that?
list.
All
Yes.
right, just, you want me to do it on everybody?
Those
Yes, so
10.
they know
Yes.
exactly
Yeah.
what they're.
As of what date, or does it it doesn't matter? Never mind.
Just pick a date.
Pick a date.
We'll get a really productive meeting that way, and we'll get some real good feedback to the committee.
All right,
Okay.
good.
Okay.
So what's next?
Well, before you go on to what's next, I know, you ready to go home?
I was ready to go home about 4 hours ago. Now I'm settling
He
in.
he loves.
Now I'm settling in.
No, I'm settling in
You've got
now.
a city broke in now.
Your hourly rate's a little better than most of us, right? Sorry, didn't let you know. So, we do think the number
I'm gonna
three.
let Mr. Lowry lead us on the group health.
Okay.
I will, but.
That's gonna get to us.
But before we go to that, I just wanted to say, just from our side, we're concerned that the 369, if everyone were to take it, I'm still not convinced that that's the number that's gonna be the number that's gonna attract them to it. It's just me personally saying that out loud.
Let's
Okay.
see.
We'll see. That's why we suggested bringing them into a room and letting them,
All right.
you know, individual, they probably don't wanna do this in a group, they probably wanna do it one-on-one. That way they can ask their own questions.
I will put each one of their leaves as of, after this payday, when we get it done,
Right,
I will put a sheet for each person.
okay.
Okay, and then I will have a whole list for whoever wants to see the whole list,
Okay.
for
All
our
right.
purposes.
For healthcare, so, it's gonna be short and sweet, this part of it, is, we wanna wait and find out exactly, do you know the felonious assault number yet?
Yes, Colette just sent it to me, it is $100,000.
So the
That's the old agreement too.
felonious is currently 100,000?
I believe it was in one of the other articles, it's been the same amount we've
It's
had
been
for.
the same way forever, right?
Yes.
Okay. And, wait, now are you saying there's actually a felonious assault bond out right now, or you have to go?
No, it's out right now, we have a
Okay.
current one, we have
Okay,
a
I just
current
wanna
one.
make sure.
Yeah, Colette just emailed me the policy.
But we have concern, under the note, we have a concern there that we're not quite there yet with,
All right.
to say that we're comfortable feeling the idea that, if the committee were to go rogue on us and do something and agree to increase premiums that are outrageous or something to that effect, that, you know, we're a little nervous that we wouldn't be able to come back to the table and say that doesn't satisfy transit workers.
I understand, but you'll get comfortable with it soon enough, so.
I'll come forward.
I have confidence that you'll come around to that.
Did you hear that one, Curtis? So, yeah, so we're gonna kind of stand firm right there with our proposal at this point.
Okay?
So Curtis, we wanted to go back to hazardous pay and for a minute, 10.3, and just have a brief discussion. I'll let you take that from there.
Yeah, once again, we just want to make sure we walk away and that we're clear on where you're at with hazardous pay. I did hear what you said earlier. Not sure I was 100% clear on the direction that you guys were going. So can you just repeat that and
Well,
what's
okay.
your thoughts on that? Because we would like to see some of the 10.3 million go into the shields and go into hazardous pay. That's safety for us, and that's That's what we're asking you guys to look into and do.
Curtis, this is Tanya. Facilities, the county facility department started installing the shields as of yesterday. So they're doing a few of them at a time. They should be on the whole fleet within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, can we verify this though?
I can show you a picture of the one.
Are we talking about a shield or a barrier that protects against assaults as well?
This is what it looks like. Open it.
It's a plexiglass, Curtis.
And they'll be installing them on the cutaways as well. And the beach trolleys.
It opens up like a door.
Yes, like a little door. Yes.
Yeah, I've
Is
seen
that
it.
on one of our buses right now?
Yes, that's one of the ones they installed yesterday. I think they installed 3, Rodriguez? Yes, 3 yesterday.
How easy is it to open?
That, I'm sure it's probably relatively easy. Buzz, open it, second. Not from me, from the
Okay.
passenger, I'm sure that there's a way to
Oh.
secure it. There's-
Give me 1 second.
So if we get that installed, do we have to have the $100,000 film?
Okay, he has it on his phone too, yeah, same.
Yeah, but this is by no means, in my opinion, anything that's gonna protect against an assault.
I'll speak to
It-
If there's gonna be an assault, there's gonna be an assault. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Do you know karate?
Tanya, can you send that to us, please? The
Yes.
specs and everything on it?
Okay.
There's training.
I'm gonna clear God's law and man's law. Somebody attacked me on that.
Hey, guys.
All right, so,
Negotiations.
we have
telling me
no authorization right now
Do
to
it.
provide for hazard pay because it's
So-
something you brought to our
I'm sorry.
attention today.
So-
So we're gonna have to, we.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room is still talking. I can't hear you because everybody was still talking. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, you gave us a hazard pay proposal today. We don't have any authorization to agree to that. We'll have to take it back and look at it. And what we want to do is do some research and diligence on what other public employers may have done with this issue. I know that you mentioned that some others have put something like that into place. We would like to see what they did and where they derived funds for such a initiative. We also want to look at the funding that you referenced because we know that there are some tight requirements on how those monies can be spent that are received from the federal government. So we have to go and research that. So there's plenty of issues that surround hazard pay. But, since you brought this issue up today, we're going to start the process of considering it. But it's going to take some work.
So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, that's fine. I just want to make a comment. I know we brought up West Palm Beach previously on an issue. Take a look at what they're putting in their buses right now. And maybe look at Orlando, maybe look at Jacksonville, maybe look at Tampa, St. Petersburg, I can go on. Feel free to look at those locations and you'll get a better idea of what we're hoping to see that would be on there, on the buses.
Well, at least we're making progress and the county is doing what they can to protect the workers. So, I'm just saying it's not like nothing's happening. But I do understand your perspective of seeing what else is out there and we'll take that under
Yeah, I wish there sometimes would be, and Curtis, I just want to say this out loud, I wish there's sometimes before these decisions are made, there's more of an effort of communication with the representatives of the union. That's the first time I've ever seen that shield. And I thought maybe that there was gonna be a discussion. Because I asked it when I first spoke with Ms. Ellis, when she mentioned it to me, that could we be a part of this process and have a discussion? Obviously, that didn't happen, so.
Who knows? Next time we get back together, we might have shields, right?
We actually do have some we could put up there.
And Mike, just for clarification, prior to us going back to full service, we, and I've shared this with you in multiple conversations, that, there has to be some kind of protection for the employees before we go back to full service and boarding through the front door. So this may not be what it may look like in the end, I can't say that one way or another. However, before we can go back to full service, there has to be some protection for the employees with the proximity of the fare box and proximity of where the drivers are.
Okay, so this could be temporary.
Well,
No, we're not saying that.
we're not saying that, but I'm saying though, but at minimum, before we can go back to full service, we have to have something there. Because to me, we understand the dangers with COVID-19 and where our fare box is and where our drivers sit. There, it's a very close proximity. So before we even consider going back to full service, we have to have something there in place.
Okay.
So, let me just, I gotta plug in. So I hear you, and I appreciate that, because obviously I want our members to be protected when you start collecting fares. I'm all for that. I just go on the record, I hope that when we look at the stimulus money, I hope we do what other transit systems are doing, which is actually killing two birds with one stone. Not only protecting against the virus, but they're also looking at creating barriers that are needed to protect against assaults as well. So maybe we could be, I'd love to have those discussions, because, from what I understand, the barriers cost about $5,000 to put into buses. You do the math on the number of the buses we have, you've still got a lot of money left over of stimulus money after that. So you hardly put a dent in the money. And then, of course, hazardous pay is something that we're concerned about, because Curtis just told me today that a friend of ours in New Jersey, who was the head of the union, in fact, just died of COVID-19. And that's about, what number is that, Curtis, of ATU members? 60 plus? Yeah. And then with TWA, they had well over 100 plus, right? That died from COVID-19.
Yeah, that's in New York alone.
Yeah. So, transit workers are frontline, they're critical, essential. That's why we think we deserve hazardous pay. They're actually out there, During this crisis, when it kicked in, it's pretty obvious. When most people were locking up buildings and Larry Downs Jr. was showing up in front of this building and complaining because he couldn't walk in this building and videotaping it, and you all expressed to him, even though there was just a few people in the building, that he couldn't get in. Transit workers were across the street loading buses with hundreds of people getting on their buses at that time, with people coming right up to the fare box. So we still think that they're critical. And so Curtis,
So I'd like to ask two questions. Tanya,
Yes.
are all the wheels already purchased for the buses? Have you already went through the procurement process and purchased them, or is there room to suggest anything else to you? That's the first question.
The frames, from my understanding, were done through the facilities department, through the county. So I believe they've already bought the metal. They were, I think, fabricating them themselves. And they've done, I know, some of the other barriers and plexiglass in other departments within the county. We did share with them some of the different examples from across the state, Star Metro, and some of the other locations around the state, information from Miami as well. And one of the criteria that was given to facilities is that we had to have something for the cutaways. Because prior to this whole COVID-19, I had searched and searched and searched across the country through FPTA, APTA, and FDOT and FTA as far as barriers or enclosures for cutaway vehicles. And I could not find a manufacturer for those specifically. Now, I do know a lot of companies now are starting to make the ones for cutaways, because my position has always been that if I can't protect everyone, then we have to protect everyone that's driving any vehicle. So if someone's driving Route 60 on a cutaway, they need to have the same protection a person has on a Gillig or on an Eldorado.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And,
Hey Curtis,
Yeah,
I sent
and
you,
the
I sent you the email with a picture of what it looks like.
And that was my second question, if you can send me, a picture of what it is and how it's spec'd out.
Yep, we got it.
Ours look better. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, should have known that was do it.
So, Mike, do you want to pick some dates for us to get back? You gave us a bunch of stuff that we wasn't able to go through today.
Yeah, we're gonna need at least a week on our side to go through with that large packet.
Okay.
Well, we could
We're,
do that.
we're gonna be requesting to take off union officers to look at that. so they can go through that packet. I hope that that's gonna be honored.
Do y'all have anything around the 19th that y'all want to?
Yeah, we said, we had already taken the morning of the 19th. If y'all want to take the afternoon of the 19th, I mean, we could do that. We could just roll in, we
Don't we have a
finish,
Thursday before that too?
we have a board meeting. And then I think, Mike, you didn't have anything, and I don't have the 23rd.
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
I
but
do have
you
the
don't.
26th, but
Let's do half a day of the 19th.
so it'd be the afternoon, starting at 1, or,
Are you willing, okay.
Okay, well, so the other one's 8:30, 12:30, so do you wanna do, you gonna do a 30-minute break or just roll on into it? So 1 to
Yeah.
5? Would that work for y'all?
1 to 4:30.
1 to 4:30, because he's.
4:30, oh yeah, he's gotta get on the road.
On the
So can we also,
19.
because obviously, can we look at some other dates while he's on the phone and not, you know, I mean, that day is fine, we can do.
You want me to go ahead and schedule that
We can
one?
do that whole day with, county workers unit and then ECAT unit, but here, I'm just telling you, I'm ready to lock us up into a room and get this done. And, you know, sometimes being forced to stay in a room and work it out is where you get to. But, if you got some more days, we'd appreciate it.
So, do we agree to Friday from 1 to 5? Is that what I heard?
Was it the 18th or 19th?
It's the 19th.
19th.
That is a Friday, yeah. Yeah,
I have the 26th.
1 to 4:30, because Mattamore's gotta,
Why don't we
Friday.
do, is the other one 8:30?
yeah, those were the 8:30 and 12:30.
So we're going
We
to
do
start at
8:30
8 to 12,
and then
12:30 to,
4:30.
So
Yeah.
move the meeting to 8 in the morning, yeah, okay.
Or, no, I was just saying 8:30 to 12,
oh, I see what you're saying.
first one.
Yeah.
And then we can either start at 12:30 or
Yeah,
1, but
we'll
end
say.
at 4:30.
Okay,
I think Mike would prefer to end at 4, but.
well, why don't I just move the first one to 8? Just do
That's
8
fine.
All right, we'll do that.
8 to 12, then we'll just say 12 to
So we're
4,
saying
but
at least
then
the
we'll
full
break it.
day on the 19th.
Okay.
With both units. And then, yeah, great. And then the 26th is, I'm free, if that works for anybody.
Is it 26th?
Hey, Mike, why do you want all my Fridays, Mike?
I don't
Why
need,
can't
I don't
we
need
do
to
it in
do,
the
I don't
middle?
need to do Friday. Let's not do Friday. I hate Fridays. You know, I gotta drive back, I lose an hour in the car, 4 hours. I don't get home for 4 hours.
Yeah, cocktail hour starts when?
Yeah, it's 4,
5
starts,
o'clock somewhere.
it starts at Crestview.
Crestview. Now Holt has some good stuff.
Marlene
some
lives
good
in
moonshine.
Holt, don't
I live in Holt.
you? She lives in Holt. She
There's,
knows there's
see,
like,
There's
oh,
some
the
good
love,
moonshine.
I
That's
get
the
back
best.
love
to the end of the
station there now?
25th. I have to be here.
Don't
the
be
morning.
telling
So let me ask
secrets
this
now.
question, let me ask this question, what do you, I mean, is there anything prior to, well, prior to the board meeting, or no?
Board meeting days are
No,
not
we
a
have
good
3
day to
more, we
schedule
have
them.
3
Not-
more
not the
units
board
to
meeting day,
negotiate
but
with.
We're
prior to.
bargaining with 2 unions next week, and then the next week's the board meeting.
And the committee of the whole on that
Correct.
Tuesday and Thursday, so.
So what about the following Monday, do you have anything on that? Curtis, I don't know what Curtis
I can tell you I don't, I only have the 19th. Y'all can all do something else.
We need you here.
Yeah.
what else, do you have any other dates after that, that you can lock into?
After the 19th?
I heard you say
26th.
He said,
And
day
then
is that?
Curtis didn't like losing another Friday. 25th is, see, on the 25th in the morning.
Curtis just offered a date, hold on.
On the 25th in the morning, I'm at UWF parking.
so
I
we
could
have
be
the
here
25th in the
afternoon.
afternoon?
Mhm.
Okay, let me check that one.
Did you hear what she said? She's checking for this.
I could, but I couldn't do anything after, I couldn't do anything on the 26th if I did that. So yeah, I could do 1 to 4. 1 to 4, are you thinking 1 to 4?
Yeah.
1 to 4:30, okay.
Yeah.
I could do the 25th and 1 to 4:30 if everybody else.
25th, Curtis. That way you don't have to mess with Friday.
We're doing the 19th too?
So we're doing the
Yeah.
19th, and then the 25th, 1 to 4.
Yeah.
You got that? I don't know, Curtis has disappeared, we can't hear him now.
Well, he's good with it.
I see.
Yeah, I was asking, is that 1 to 4 on the 25th?
That's what we were doing.
Okay, got it in my schedule.
And the
Okay.
19th,
Yeah, but not the 26th.
not the 26th. Okay, got it. You
All right,
okay with that?
everybody,
Nothing came up on mine.
Okay, I
stay
guess-
safe,
All right, have a good
stay
weekend.
healthy.
Yes, stay healthy.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. All right, you guys get home safe and have a good one. Have a good weekend.
Okay, you too.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Curtis.
Curtis, I'll call
What
you
is
once I walk out of here, okay?
It is a week from
Hear me?
Sunday.
I'll call you once I
What
walk
flavor
out.
is your Frosty?
Watermelon and lemonade.
Oh, is
Okay,
it
you have me
good?
at watermelon, I'm not sure about the lemonade.
Yeah,
That
they
sounds
got
good,
it
though.
mixed together. It's over there on Circle K, 85 cents.
How's it taste?
It's not bad.
Like, I don't know if I can buy watermelon.
But they had
lemonade.
Laffy Taffy last week.
I'm bouncing.